Chapter 1728. As soon as the sound of the guqin was heard, a series of mysterious Tao patterns appeared in the surroundings. These Tao patterns were mysterious, full of the mysteries of life. At this time, Yang Hongwu had already reached a state of selflessness and entered the state of oneness of heaven and man. At this moment, Yang Hongwu, Pang Lijuan, and the other two women, and even the scholar in green were attracted by the mysterious and moving sound of the guqin. They could not help but be immersed in it. Yang Hongwu's aura changed. The spiritual energy in the surroundings condensed crazily and gathered towards Yang Hongwu, constantly pouring into Yang Hongwu's body. His cultivation continued to increase. His aura became ethereal, but it continued to increase. It was unfathomable. After an unknown period of time, Yang Hongwu's hands stopped playing the guqin. The sound of the guqin had already stopped. However, the person listening to the guqin had yet to wake up. He was still immersed in the beautiful sound of the guqin, unable to extricate himself. However, that was only Pang Liren and the other two women. The scholar in green opened his eyes after a few breaths of time after the sound of the guqin stopped. Good guqin. Good song. Good realm. The scholar in green opened his eyes and said. Yang Hongwu's attainments in the guqin Tao were beyond his expectations. This song actually caused him to be immersed in it. Amazing, truly amazing. The sound of the guqin contained a trace of the supreme power of the law. This was the law of the guqin Tao. Although it was only a trace, it still gave him a little shock. This trace of the law of the guqin Tao had given him a great deal of shock. His realm had actually increased a little. For someone in his realm, it was very difficult to increase even a little. According to his situation, this little bit of improvement might not be possible even after hundreds or thousands of years. However, after listening to Yang Hongwu's song, he actually gained so much? How could he not be shocked? No wonder his master thought so highly of him. Originally, the scholar in green didn't think highly of Yang Hongwu. He wasn't convinced why his master thought so highly of him. However, Yang Hongwu's performance had completely changed his opinion of Yang Hongwu. This young man's talent was too terrifying. At the very least, his talent in guqin Tao was much greater than his. Moreover, he could see that this young man's physical body was extremely strong. Of course, his talent in refining weapons was also very shocking. At such a young age, he was not only good at refining weapons, he was so powerful and so terrifying in the way of the guqin. If he could be nurtured, he would probably surpass Yi Futian in the future. No, he would definitely surpass Yi Futian. Of course, the premise was that he didn't die. Talent was talent. However, there were countless geniuses in the great thousand universe. Before these geniuses grew up, they were only geniuses. If these geniuses fell, they would be nothing. Therefore, although Yi Futian was surprised by Yang Hongwu's amazing talent, he wasn't particularly concerned. Talent was one thing and luck was another. If one had enough talent but didn't have a strong luck to support him, he wouldn't be able to grow up. If he fell along the way, then it would be a different matter. Yes. Of course, it wouldn't be easy for Yang Hongwu to fall. After all, he was someone that his master thought highly of. If he fell so easily, then he wouldn't be worthy of his master's attention. Elder, does this mean that I passed the test? Yang Hongwu looked at the scholar in green and asked. Yes. The scholar in green nodded. That's great. Pang Liren and Yi Futian were overjoyed. They thought that the second test would be much more difficult. However, they didn't expect that the second test would be much easier than the first. However, this was even better. In their opinion, as long as Yang Hongwu wasn't injured, it was the best thing that could happen. In fact, what the two women didn't know was that the second test was indeed much more difficult than the first. The strength of the scholar in green was much stronger than that of the sacrificial beast. If they really fought, Yang Hongwu didn't even have the confidence to escape unscathed. How powerful was Yi Shusheng's strength? If it weren't for this, Yang Hongwu wouldn't have to go through so much trouble to refine an ancient zither himself. Little guy, you're very good. Your attainments in zither Dao are also very high. Your talent is amazing. You're the most talented person in zither Dao among the younger generation that I've ever seen. The cyan-robed scholar looked at Yang Hongwu and said, moreover, when you refined this wonderful sound zither, you also showed supreme attainments in refining weapons. Therefore, your talent in all aspects is very good. However, you have to know that a person's energy is limited. Therefore, if you want to develop in all aspects, it is impossible. If you focus on one direction, your future will be limitless. However, if you focus on two things at the same time, your future will be limitless. If you focus on several aspects, your future achievements will be limited. Perhaps you can achieve some success, but it's almost impossible to become a supreme existence. Yang Hongwu was surprised by the green-robed scholar's words. Was this guy admiring his talent? Did he want to accept him as a disciple? If the scholar in green wanted to accept him as a disciple, Yang Hongwu really didn't care. Although the scholar in green was powerful, if he wanted to be his master, he wasn't qualified. Thank you for your guidance, elder. Although this was what he thought in his heart, he didn't dare to show it on his face. If he angered this guy, it would be troublesome. Before he was confident, it was absolutely unwise to make an enemy of such an expert. Even if the other party was just a clone or a projection, it was still the same. Well, I should go. You're on your own. With that, the scholar in green waved his hand and a passage appeared. After this passage appeared, the scholar in green disappeared. Yang Hongwu watched the person leave and breathed a sigh of relief. The pressure this scholar gave him was too great. Big brother Yang, let's go. Let's go to the next level. I can't wait, Pang Li said. Looking at her sister who seemed to be heartless, Pang Li Juan noticed Yang Hongwu's expression. Big brother Yang Hongwu smiled and said, come, let's go to the next level. But before that, you two should consolidate your cultivation. Because the two girls had heard his zither music and the spiritual energy that he had attracted, their cultivation improved a lot. However, they didn't consolidate their cultivation in a short time. Yang Hongwu took out 2 elixirs. These elixirs could help the two girls consolidate their cultivation and stabilize their realm. Not long after, the 3 of them entered the passage. A light flashed and the 3 of them appeared on the 3rd level. Chapter 1729. Is this above the sea? Yang Hongwu looked at the small island under his feet, which was only a few hundred zhang wide. In the distance, there was a vast expanse of turbulent sea. There was no end in sight and there was no land. This was a very small and isolated island. There was no powerful aura around, which made Yang Hongwu very puzzled. The sea is so vast and majestic, Pang Liren murmured. The 2 women had always been in Shepherding Town, so how could they have seen such a vast sea? They had only heard of the sea in books. Rumor has it that above the sea there are sea demons. The sea demons are very powerful, several times stronger than humans on land. However, under the sea, there doesn't seem to be any powerful aura. It's just some fish, Pang Li Juan said. Yang Hongwu smiled slightly. However, this was only a rumor. In any world, there was a limit. A powerhouse like the Patriarch of Burial Cult could be said to be the limit of that world. In fact, this was already the limit of the divine realm. In the god realm, there were also sea demons. The strength of the sea demons was estimated to be only at the level of a half-step emperor. Of course, this was just Yang Hongwu's guess. As for whether it was true or not, Yang Hongwu had not specifically explored it, so he didn't know. The god realm was divided into 13 divine regions, and one of them was the sea. Naturally, there were many sea demons. They were comparable to the experts on land, or even more. However, in the god's domain, the powerhouses of the sea region weren't ambitious. They didn't want to occupy a vast continent. In their opinion, the sea region was much vaster and richer than the continents of the gods' domain. In fact, in a universe, generally speaking, the sea demons were more vast and rich than the land. In fact, many of the sea races and experts looked down on the experts on the land. They disdained to compete for the resources on the land. Of course, this did not include all the worlds in the universe. There were also many planes where there were more experts on land. In the vast majority of the universe, there was no such thing as a sea demon and a land demon. The land and the sea demon were part of the entire universe. They were inseparable. Yang Hongwu's Common People's Continent was just a small world. In the Common People's Continent, there were sea demons and land demons. However, although there were conflicts between land and sea demons, it wasn't big. As the ruler of the Common People's Continent, the only true God, Yang Hongwu's will was the will of the heavenly Tao of the Common People's Continent. Yang Hongwu deeply understood the principle of living in peace and dying in sorrow. If it was too peaceful, then this world, this civilization, there would be no development and it would be destroyed by foreign civilizations. Therefore, when Yang Hongwu took control of the Common People's Continent, he would also incite wars, causing the various major races to go to war from time to time. In this way, not only did he have to raise the awareness of the living beings in the continent, but he also had to cultivate some experts who could fight for him in the future. Perhaps the master of the war-stopping divine hall was the same. In any universe, in any plane, it was survival of the fittest. This was the truth of the heavenly Tao. The strong lived and the weak died. This was the unchanging truth in any plane of the universe. If this truth was forgotten, then no civilization or universe could survive. Brother Yang, what is the test of this level? Pangliren asked. Yang Hongwu smiled wryly when he heard this. The test of this world made Yang Hongwu scratch his head in confusion. Before entering this test space, Yang Hongwu had opened his Dharma Eye of Annihilation to investigate this world. However, this world seemed to have special restrictions. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly when he heard this. Hongwu's field of vision wasn't very wide, but it was at least 1,000,000 feet wide. Within a radius of 1,000,000 feet, there was a boundless ocean. However, there didn't seem to be any powerful creatures on the ocean. The strongest creatures were just a few tiger king sharks. Tiger king sharks were ferocious sea beasts. Although they were not weak, the strongest among them was only a half-step divine emperor. Yang Hongwu did not need to pay a high price to deal with these tiger king sharks. Normally, the test of the third level of the Divine Palace should be more difficult than the previous two levels. However, Yang Hongwu did not expect that the test of this level would make him scratch his head. He did not know what the test was about. However, what made Yang Hongwu feel strange was that the spiritual qi in this world was very rich. If he practiced here, he would definitely make rapid progress. Under normal circumstances, the sea beasts nourished by such rich spiritual qi would definitely not be half-step divine emperor-level tiger king sharks. This level of spiritual qi was enough to nourish sea beasts at the peak of the divine emperor level. Because of this, Yang Hongwu felt strange. I don't know what the test is about. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, the spiritual qi here is so rich. I feel that my cultivation is about to break through. Why don't we practice on this island? Pang Lijuan looked around and said, yes, Brother Yang, why don't we practice here? Anyway, we don't know what the test is about. Pang Liren also said, it was indeed a good thing to practice here, but Yang Hongwu felt that something was wrong. Don't worry. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, let's talk about it later. Since this is the test space of the third level, it shouldn't be that simple. Although the spiritual qi here is so rich that people can't help but practice, maybe it's just a bait? Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, the two women were stunned. Then, the two women said in unison, Big Brother Yang, did you discover something? No. No. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, but I have a bad feeling. This is the sea area. Under normal circumstances, The spiritual chi here is rich enough to nurture experts at the peak of the Divine Emperor level. However, within a radius of 1,000,000 feet, there is no Divine Emperor level expert. The strongest aura here is only at the half-step Divine Emperor level. How can this be normal? Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, the two women immediately understood. Something was wrong, indeed something was wrong. In the divine domain, this kind of spiritual chi was definitely the best paradise. It was impossible for such a place to be without the protection of experts. But in this space, the spiritual chi was so rich and there were no experts. It seemed that there was no danger at all. This was the strangest thing. Chapter 1730. Wait. The two women were puzzled and asked, "Wait for what? There's nothing we can do. We know nothing about it, so we can only wait." Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Since there was no other way, he could only wait. "Is this an illusory formation?" Peng Li asked. "Illusory formation?" Hearing this, Yang Hongwu was stunned. It was not impossible, but if it was an illusory formation, it did not make sense that his annihilation Dharma eyes could not see it. "Brother Yang, is it possible that this is an illusory formation?" Peng Li saw Yang Hongwu looking at her and said, "I'm just guessing. Is it possible that this is an illusory formation? After all, if it is an illusory formation, everything can be explained. What Li Ren said is not impossible. If everything we see is false and illusory, everything makes sense." Peng Li Juan said at this time. "No, it's still not right." Yang Hongwu still shook his head. "Why?" Peng Li asked, "Brother Yang, did you find anything? If it's really an illusory formation, how could it escape from my Dharma eyes?" When Yang Hongwu said this, he was very confident. He was proficient in formations, and his Dharma eyes of annihilation could see through all illusions. If it was an illusory formation, how could he not see through it? Even though his cultivation was only at the 9th level of the Divine Monarch realm, not even a half-step Divine Emperor, his Dharma eyes of annihilation were extremely powerful. The Dharma eyes of annihilation could not only destroy the world, but also see through reality and illusion. Therefore, the possibility of it being an illusory formation was too small. However, if it was not an illusory formation, what was going on? Looking at the boundless ocean, Lin Fan could feel the dense spirit qi gushing into his body endlessly. Here, even if one did not cultivate, one's cultivation speed would be much faster than cultivating outside. This was because of the rich spiritual qi here. This was also why many cultivators, experts, and powerful forces needed to occupy the Blessed Enclave. It was because, even if one did not cultivate in the Blessed Enclave, one could still obtain more benefits by cultivating diligently than in the outside world. In some Blessed Enclaves, even the ordinary people who did not practice cultivation had a much stronger physique than the powerful warriors in some low-level world. This was the advantage of spiritual qi. Of course, spiritual qi was also divided into levels. The level of spiritual qi in this place was obviously not low. Yang Hongwu did not find any spiritual veins here. Could it be that the spiritual qi of this test world was so strong? If that was the case, then this test plane was indeed very powerful. Could it be that he had to use his Dharma eye of annihilation to destroy this spatial world in order to pass this test? Thinking of this, Yang Hongwu shook his head. If possible, Yang Hongwu did not want to do this. After all, if a person did not have a bottom line, then in the future, he might really lose himself and degenerate into a real devil. At that time, would he still be himself? For a cultivator, one's heart was very important. On the path of cultivation, there would be countless obstacles and dangers. Countless times, one would encounter a life and death crisis. A single mistake could turn one into ashes. Many people, many cultivators, because they encounter too many difficulties, or even too many temptations, they forget their original intentions. Even some supreme experts may lose their original intentions for the sake of cultivation, for the sake of treasures, for the sake of power, and so on. Because of these things, they lose their original intentions, because if they lost their conscience for cultivation, then they would be close to chi deviation and death. It's not an illusory formation or an illusion. Brother Yang, you said that this is the real world. If it is the real world, why can't we cultivate here? Is the spiritual chi here fake? Pang Lijuan asked. Fake spiritual chi. Perhaps no one would believe it if he said it. Everything could be fake. Weapons, spiritual medicines, and so on could all be faked, but no one had ever heard that spiritual chi could be fake. The spiritual chi is fake? Yang Hongwu was a little confused when he heard this, but it was not impossible. Ordinary people could not fake the spiritual chi, but what about the owner of this world? If the other party was strong enough, it was not impossible for them to fake the spiritual energy. He could even try it in his own inner world. That's also possible. Yang Hongwu closed his eyes and used his divine thoughts to analyze the spiritual chi in this space. Indeed, everything could be faked, but what about the spiritual chi? Was it possible to fake the spiritual chi? The richness of the spiritual chi might be faked, the density of the spiritual chi could also be faked, and even the level of the spiritual chi could be faked. But there was one thing that was absolutely impossible to fake, and that was the origin of the spiritual chi. The origin of the spiritual chi in any world was fixed. If the origin of the spiritual chi was upgraded, it meant that the level of this world and this space would also be upgraded. For example, if the origin of the spiritual chi of the mortal land was upgraded, it was equivalent to the origin of the world of the mortal land being upgraded. What did the upgrade of the origin of the world mean? It meant that this world had also upgraded. Therefore, in a space world, anything could be faked, but the origin of the spiritual chi could not be faked. As long as he could find the origin of the spiritual chi of this world, he could use this to understand the situation of this world. If it was an ordinary person, it was really impossible to use this to analyze a space. However, Yang Hongwu could do it because he had the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. The Dharma Eye of Annihilation could destroy the world, but if he destroyed the world and devoured the origin, he could analyze the origin of a world. If he couldn't even do this, how could he destroy the origin of a world, and even devour the origin of a world? When Yang Hongwu analyzed the origin of the spiritual chi of this world, at first he was puzzled, then he was surprised, and then the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. After a while, Yang Hongwu finally opened his eyes. He finally understood what kind of world it was, what kind of space it was, and what the test was. Chapter 1731. Brother Yang Hongwu, please tell us. The two women were pleasantly surprised when they heard Yang Hongwu's answer. Actually, we are in the world of a sea monster. Yang Hongwu said. Sea monster? Yes, it's a sea monster. In this world, you can say that it's real or fake. Yang Hongwu explained. As soon as these words came out, the two girls were confused. Was it true or false? Isn't this contradictory? Looking at the two women's confused faces, Yang Hongwu smiled and said, This sea monster is the legendary fantasy sea monster. What's the fantasy sea monster? What kind of ability does it have? Yang Hongwu said, The illusory world sea demon is a powerful demonic beast in the Sea Clan. An adult illusory world sea demon is quite terrifying and can compare to a peak imperial emperor. However, the illusory world sea demon we encountered has not reached that level. An adult fantasy world sea monster can fight against a peak sovereign emperor? Isn't that too terrifying? Pang Lijuan asked in surprise. How strong is the fantasy world sea monster we met? Early divine emperor. Yang Hongwu said, This fantasy world sea monster's strength is limited. That's why it can only create a world like this. The spiritual chi in this world seems to be rich, but the strongest sea monster in this world is the Tiger King Shark, a half-step divine emperor tiger king shark. In fact, the spiritual chi in this world seems to be rich, but it's just a bait. The purpose of this world is to make the practitioners who enter this world indulge in cultivation and devour the spiritual chi crazily until they enter into a state of cultivation. After that, they will be gradually numbed by the spiritual chi and lose their vigilance. That way, the fantasy sea monster can easily kill them. That's terrifying. The fantasy sea monster is really hateful. But, Brother Yang, how did you find out? Pang Liren asked. The illusion technique of the fantasy world oceanic demon is really too powerful. Moreover, you just said that everything is real. This world is indeed real. It's the world of the fantasy world sea monster. In fact, the place where the spiritual chi is rich is only within a radius of 1,000,000 feet from where we are, which is the range that I can explore. In fact, all of this is limited by the fantasy world sea monster. In order to make everything so natural, the fantasy world sea monster constantly mobilized the spiritual chi in this world when I was exploring this world. The changes in the fantasy world sea monster's inner world are so real that it's difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Yang Hongwu said, however, the fantasy world sea monster is very calculative. Yes, I miscalculated one thing. In this world, although everything can be changed, there is one thing that cannot be changed, and that is the origin of this world. If the origin of this world cannot be changed, then everything will be exposed. If it's someone else, they won't be able to see it. But I can. Yang Hongwu looked at the sky and said, "Come out, fantasy sea monster. You don't have to hide anymore." A fantasy world sea monster at the early divine emperor realm was quite powerful. Moreover, it was not easy to deal with it in its inner world. The test of the third level was to defeat the fantasy world sea demon. After figuring out what the test of this level was, Yang Hongwu let out a sigh of relief. Although the fantasy sea monster was powerful, it was not without weaknesses. If it was outside, it would be more difficult for Yang Hongwu to deal with the fantasy sea monster. However, it was much easier in the fantasy sea monster's world. Human, you're the first person to see through my side of the world. Impressive, truly impressive. A mere 9th-level Divine Lord can actually see through the reality of my side of the world. Truly too impressive. You're a true genius. Moreover, within your body I can sense a powerful strength. I can sense your powerful blood. The fantasy world oceanic demon appeared. It looked similar to a human, but it was different. It was as if its transformation was incomplete. In fact, after the fantasy world oceanic demon transformed, it looked like this. It was ugly in the eyes of the human race. Pang Liren frowned and said, "So ugly." The fantasy sea monster's eyes turned cold. An arc of light shot out from its eyes and arrived in front of Pang Liren. If Pang Liren was hit, her head would be pierced. When Yang Hongwu saw it, he waved his hand and a light screen appeared in front of him, blocking the attack. Fantasy sea monster, you're an overlord. It doesn't seem appropriate to launch a sneak attack like this, right? Yang Hongwu said. Pang Liren's face turned ugly. If it wasn't for Yang Hongwu blocking the attack, she wouldn't have been able to block it. You blabber. You deserve to die. After saying that, the fantasy world siren launched another attack. A trident appeared in the fantasy world siren's hand. This reminded Yang Hongwu of the so-called Poseidon on Earth. It was the Poseidon's trident in Western mythology. He had to admit that this guy was very strong. In addition to his strange appearance, his weapon and his figure were very similar to that of the so-called sea god. The fantasy sea monster waved its trident and a ray of light burst out. The power was incomparably strong. It instantly pierced through the space. The ground was torn apart and the space was shattered. The domineering power instantly rushed over, wanting to destroy the space where Yang Hongwu and the two girls were. Humph! Yang Hongwu coldly snorted. This fantasy sea monster was too arrogant. It thought that it was invincible in its world, and could do whatever it wanted. This was simply a joke. Yang Hongwu's big hand grasped and a saber appeared. This saber was the Hong Meng saber. Raging dragon breaks the sky / With Yang Hongwu's angry shout, the Hong Meng saber emitted a dazzling light. A terrifying chi burst out and formed a huge divine dragon. It soared into the sky and met the fantasy sea monster's attack head-on. In an instant, the two domineering forces collided. The small island under Yang Hongwu's feet couldn't withstand such a terrifying impact. Chapter 1732. Indeed, the fantasy world siren had the upper hand in this clash. Although Yang Hongwu managed to block the attack, there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. This was the fantasy world siren's world. Although Yang Hongwu's attack was equally strong and overbearing, the fantasy world siren had a whole world. The world could withstand the impact of the attack, but Yang Hongwu could not. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was injured, but the fantasy world siren was not injured at all. Brother Yang, you're injured." Seeing that Yang Hongwu was injured, the two ladies were worried. They supported Yang Hongwu and asked with concern. "It's nothing serious. It's just a small injury. Don't worry about it." Yang Hongwu smiled faintly and wiped off the blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the fantasy world siren in the sky. "This guy is too arrogant. He doesn't put me in his eyes at all. Such an arrogant villain would not have a good ending." The fantasy world siren in front of him was just like that. "You know what? Fantasy world siren, you're really asking for a beating." Yang Hongwu raised his head to look at the sea demon of fantasy world. "Ever since I began cultivating, I've encountered quite a few opponents. Quite a few enemies have said the same thing to me, but all of them ended up in the same way. Even if they die, I'm afraid you'll have the same ending today. You're really arrogant." The fantasy world siren was not angry when he heard Yang Hongwu's words. Instead, he laughed. This human was already defeated by him and his life was in his hand. Yet, he was still so arrogant and did not put him in his eyes. He was courting death. Even if they were not in his own world, a mere Sir God realm human was far from being his match. Moreover, this weak human was in his own world. If he wanted to kill him, it would be an easy task. Haha, it's not up to you to decide whether I'm arrogant or not. It's just a sea monster. If you know what's good for you, kneel down and beg for mercy, kowtow and apologize, and obediently send us out. If you do that, perhaps you'll have a chance to live. If not, only death awaits you," Yang Hongwu said in a clear voice. His eyes were shining with endless confidence. These words made the fantasy world kraken even angrier. Even at this moment, this weak human was still so arrogant, not putting him in his eyes at all. Was he trying to infuriate him? Did he want him to kill them directly without leaving any pain? Did he want a quick death? If that's the case, then he would not do that. "Puny human, you're doing this to anger me so that I'll give you a quick death, right?" The fantasy world sea devil suppressed the fury in her heart and looked at Yang Hongwu and the others as she said, "You're too naive. I won't let you die so easily. I'll make you suffer before killing you. In my world, I want you to live a life worse than death. I want to torture you for thousands of years before I kill you." With that, the fantasy world oceanic demon waved his hand and a gigantic cage appeared in the sky. This gigantic cage was moving towards the three of them. When the two women saw the huge cage, they felt a terrifying pressure. This made the two women lose their confidence. This huge cage gave them too much pressure, making it hard for them to breathe. Even so, the two women believed that Yang Hongwu, their big brother Yang, would definitely be able to do it. He had a way to deal with it. "Boy, wait until you enter my fantasy world cage. You'll know how terrifying I am. It'll be unforgettable." "Ha ha. The fantasy world siren laughed wildly. It was as if he could see Yang Hongwu and the other two being tortured. He could see them begging for mercy. He could see them. "Is that so?" Yang Hongwu's face did not change at all. It was as if he did not care about it at all. It was as if he did not see it. At this moment, a ray of light appeared between Yang Hongwu's eyebrows. This ray of light burst out, causing the entire space to tremble. Streaks of black lightning appeared. These streaks of black lightning were filled with a terrifying destructive power. At this moment, the fantasy world siren's body trembled. The black lightning that appeared between Yang Hongwu's eyebrows gave him a terrifying feeling. It was as if it could destroy everything. Fear spread. At this moment, the fantasy world siren's soul was trembling. He suppressed the fear in his heart. He thought to himself, "This human can't be so powerful. He can't kill me. This is an illusion. It's just an illusion. I'm too nervous. It must be me. He's just a monarch god. How can he destroy my inner world? Yes, it must be him. This human is definitely no match for me." However, even though that was what the fantasy world sea demon thought, its soul was still trembling in fear. In the sky, the huge cage could not move at all. Gradually, the fantasy world siren could no longer control the huge cage. It continued to envelop Yang Hongwu. With a loud bang, the cage was hit by the ray of light between Yang Hongwu's eyebrows. It instantly shattered and turned into nothingness. The fantasy world siren trembled. Blood spurted out from the corner of his mouth. At this moment, the fantasy world siren looked at Yang Hongwu with fear. At this moment, he knew what kind of existence he had provoked. In between this young man's eyebrows there was an eye. It was a terrifying eye. That eye had a terrifying power. It was as if it could destroy his world. At this moment, he regretted to the extreme. Why did he have to provoke such a terrifying human? Human, little sea monster, I told you that if you had knelt down and begged for mercy, kowtowed and apologized, and sent us out, you might have had a chance to live. But you didn't cherish it, so today you will die. However, it is your honor to die in my hands, Yang Hongwu said loudly. The fantasy world siren was terrified. He looked at Yang Hongwu with extreme fear and shouted, "Human expert, I was wrong. Please spare me. Spare me." At this moment, the fantasy world oceanic demon was no longer as arrogant as before. It was now like a stray dog, crawling on the ground and shivering. Chapter 1733. Human, don't go too far. At this moment, although the fantasy world sea demon was afraid, it knew that it was not a match for Yang Hongwu. The power that exploded out from that eye was causing its world to continuously collapse. This was quite shocking, and it was unable to resist at all. If this continued, its world would be destroyed. Once its world was destroyed, it would be seriously injured. At that time, anyone could easily kill it. It did not want to die. "Weren't you very arrogant just now?" Yang Hongwu said coldly. "I asked you to send us away, but you didn't want to. You wanted to kill us. It's too late to beg for mercy now. As I said, it's too late. Human, don't force me. If you force me, you won't be able to gain any benefits. At worst, we'll die together." At this time, the power of the fantasy world sea demon was completely suppressed. At this moment, it had no way to erupt its power to resist Yang Hongwu's attack. The Dharma Eye of Annihilation had completely restrained it. The strength of the fantasy world sea demon was actually very strong. It was just that it had exhausted too much of its power. In fact, it was unwilling to let Yang Hongwu and the others go because it wanted to devour the power of Yang Hongwu and the others to recover from its injuries and improve its cultivation. It never thought that this time it would kick an iron plate. The strength of the opponent was so strong. It seemed that he was only a 9th-level divine monarch, but his combat strength was so terrifying. He was even stronger than the fantasy world sea demon. This was a monster, a peerless monster. In fact, the fantasy world sea demon also knew that the place they were in was actually the space of a peerless expert. The humans who entered here were all geniuses. However, it did not expect Yang Hongwu's strength to be so terrifying. Yang Hongwu heard it and laughed. Die together with me? Do you have the ability to do that? At worst, I'll self-destruct this space. If I die, you won't have an easy time. The fantasy world sea demon seemed to have gone crazy. Yang Hongwu's face changed slightly. If the fantasy world sea demon wanted to self-destruct its world, then it would be troublesome. However, Pang Li and the other girl were still too weak. They couldn't withstand the power of the self-destruction of this space. As for Yang Hongwu himself, he did not have enough power to protect the two women. This was indeed Yang Hongwu's weakness. Fantasy World Siren saw Yang Hongwu's hesitation and knew that she had grasped the key. This human male seemed to care a lot about the two women. If that was the case, it would be good. With a weakness, it meant that he still had a chance to survive. What do you want? Yang Hongwu asked. It's impossible for me to let you go like this. Human, you just want to pass this level of the self-defense divine palace, and I am indeed the key to this level. As long as I open the path to the next level for you, it'll be fine, said the fantasy world sea demon. To me, even though I'll have to pay quite a hefty price, it'll be fine. It's still within the range of what I can bear. If you did that before, I would be very happy. But now, you want me to let you go so easily? I'm afraid that's not possible. Yang Hongwu looked at the fantasy world sea demon and said, That's not enough. It's not enough. Killing the fantasy world sea demon was not a big deal. Besides, the fantasy world sea demon's small world was very weak. Even if he absorbed and refined the small world, it would be impossible for him to reach the half-step divine emperor realm. However, it was impossible for him to let go of the fantasy world siren without getting anything out of it. Don't go too far. If I want to send you out, I'll have to pay a hefty price, said the fantasy world sea demon when he saw that Yang Hongwu was not satisfied. So you don't want to pay the price? Yang Hongwu's face darkened and said, If you don't want to, then forget it. I can leave after killing you. As for the small world that you self-destruct, it will affect me a little but not much. You don't care about the two women? Asked the fantasy world sea demon when he saw Yang Hongwu's reaction. You don't have to worry about that. I have my ways. You can self-destruct this small world and see how much damage it can do to me, said Yang Hongwu coldly, as if he did not care about the fantasy world sea demon's self-destruction at all. Looking at Yang Hongwu's expression, the fantasy world sea demon could not remain calm. He thought to himself, Is this human really not afraid of my self-destructing small world? For some experts, the self-destruction of a small world would not pose a fatal threat to them. However, the two women were too weak. It was impossible for them to survive the impact of the self-destruction of their small world. However, the two women were too weak to survive the impact of the self-destruction of their small world. The human man was very mysterious. What if he had a powerful trump card in his hand? If he really had a powerful trump card, wouldn't he have died in vain? The fantasy world sea demon did not dare to take the risk. After all, this was a matter of life and death. Even if he had to pay a high price, as long as he could survive, it was worth it. You human, what do you want? The fantasy world sea demon suppressed the anger in his heart and looked at Yang Hongwu. Your illusion technique, said Yang Hongwu while looking at the fantasy world sea demon. The fantasy world sea demon's ability to transform his small world was really powerful. If he had not analyzed the origin spiritual qi, he would have been confused. If he could learn this illusion technique, it would be of great help to Yang Hongwu. If he could cultivate this illusion technique to the extreme, he would be able to turn the illusion into reality. If he could reach that level, it would be really terrifying. It could be said that he could create something out of nothing. How strong would his cultivation be to be able to do that? Impossible. The fantasy world sea demon shook his head and said, This is my natal superpower. I can't give it to anyone else. This is an inheritance from the bloodline. It is awakened. Other than the fantasy world sea demon clan, No other clan can master it. Yes. Apart from this superpower, you have nothing else that I want. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, I have one more thing. I got it after killing a human genius last time. Maybe you will like it. At this time, the fantasy world sea demon hurriedly said. It was true that he could not pass the illusion technique to others. However, he was afraid that Yang Hongwu would kill him at all costs. That would be troublesome. Chapter 1734. It was a special beast skin. There was a familiar aura on the beast skin. It was the aura of the common life Great Seal. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was very excited. The common life Great Seal was too important for Yang Hongwu. After so long, Yang Hongwu had not obtained the complete common life Great Seal. For Yang Hongwu, his cultivation was too weak. Compared to Zetian, it was really not enough. After all, Zetian's cultivation had already reached a terrifying level. He was at least at the Emperor realm. Yang Hongwu had not even reached the half-step Divine Emperor realm. If he returned to the Divine Domain, he would not be able to defeat Zetian. At that time, he would not be able to protect his woman. He might not even be able to protect his own life. Therefore, Yang Hongwu could not wait to increase his cultivation. He wanted to reach the Emperor realm in the shortest time possible. However, it was extremely difficult to increase his cultivation level. Moreover, he wanted to reach the Emperor realm from the Divine Emperor realm. It was impossible to achieve through ordinary means. Therefore, he only had a few shortcuts to increase his cultivation level. For example, he could find one of the 8 great divine talismans. The possibility of that was too small. He had been searching for the 8 great divine talismans for so long, but he only managed to obtain some information. He did not even manage to find a replica of the 8 great divine talismans. Therefore, the possibility of finding the 8 great divine talismans was not high. The second one was the Common Life Great Seal. If he could find the complete Common Life Great Seal, his strength would increase greatly. As long as he could obtain the complete Common Life Great Seal and refine it, Yang Hongwu believed that his cultivation level would increase by leaps and bounds. If he could obtain the complete Common Life Great Seal, he would be able to reach the Emperor realm in the shortest time possible. After Yang Hongwu obtained the fragment of the Common People's Great Seal from the Common People's continent, his strength had greatly increased. However, it was still far from enough when he reached the deity realm. Especially after he found out that Zetian was the lord of the demon region, he became even more depressed. Back then, Zetian had been defeated by him. But now, Zetian's strength was so terrifying. Yang Hongwu had not even seen Zetian in person, but he could already feel the terror of Zetian. If he were to fight against Zetian with his current cultivation, it would be no different from seeking death. That was why Yang Hongwu was so focused on improving his cultivation. Yang Hongwu guessed that there should be a fragment of the Common Life Great Seal in the Divine Realm. As for where it was, Yang Hongwu didn't know. However, he had never imagined that he would stumble upon something related to the Life Great Seal after arriving at the Dark Night continent and entering the War God Temple. Although this piece of beast skin wasn't the Life Seal, the aura of the Life Seal on it couldn't be concealed. Moreover, this piece of beast skin wasn't that simple. It was definitely the skin of a powerful exotic beast. Its strength wasn't below the peak Divine Emperor realm. It might even surpass the Divine Emperor realm. How could the information recorded on such a piece of beast skin be so simple? I got this piece of animal skin from that human genius. There are some runes on it that I don't understand. These runes should record some special information. Maybe it's a map. The map should record some treasure or the location of a supreme treasure. If it's true, then it's true that it's a treasure or a supreme treasure. If I can decipher it, I'll gain great benefits. However, I can't leave here and I can't decipher the secret. The fantasy world sea monster saw Yang Hongwu staring at the beast's skin and heaved a sigh of relief. As long as the human in front of him was interested in it, it would be good. The information recorded on this piece of beast skin might be very precious, but in fact, it was of little value to the fantasy world sea monster. It would be a pity to throw it away. After all, it couldn't leave here. Its strength was far from enough. Yang Hongwu's heart was stirred up by this piece of beast skin. However, on the surface, Yang Hongwu didn't show the slightest excitement. It's just a piece of beast skin. Do you think you can get rid of me? Yang Hongwu said. This piece of beast skin is indeed from a powerful exotic beast. However, it's just a piece of beast skin. As for the information recorded on it, who knows what it is? Yang Hongwu's words made the fantasy world sea monster speechless. However, it couldn't refute him. After all, he was telling the truth. The information recorded on the beast's skin was invaluable to some people. However, to others it was worthless, just like the fantasy world sea monster. Moreover, even if they knew what was recorded on the beast's skin, what if it recorded the location of a supreme treasure? So what if they knew? If it wasn't powerful enough, it would be impossible to obtain it. However, although the fantasy world sea monster thought this, it wasn't stupid enough to say it out loud. I extracted the memories of that human genius. This beast skin contains information about a supreme treasure. I think it's called the Great Seal of Life. Yes, it's the Great Seal of Life. The fantasy world sea demon said. It's an extremely powerful treasure. If we can obtain that treasure, we'll be able to obtain it. If you can obtain it, you'll have the strength of a divine emperor. Hearing this, Yang Hongwu's heart skipped a beat. However, he said, so what? Even if what you said is true, and this piece of beast skin recorded the information of the supreme treasure called the Life Great Seal, and even its specific location, so what? Who can guarantee that I'll be able to obtain it? Fantasy World Sea Monster. Fantasy World Sea Monster? If you want to use this insignificant beast skin to dismiss me, then you're too naive. If you don't take out something that satisfies me, I won't let you go. The fantasy world sea monster sensed the killing intent in Yang Hongwu's eyes. He hesitated for a while and then said, all right, I have something else. I was saving it to break through to the late divine emperor realm. If this thing can't satisfy your greed, then I will give it to you. If that's the case, I can only choose to perish together with you. After saying that, the fantasy world kraken reluctantly took out a box from his interspatial ring. The box was engraved with mysterious runes. Yang Hongwu recognized these runes. They were sealing runes, ancient and powerful. Moreover, the material of the box was also very precious. This box could definitely be considered an extraordinary treasure. Chapter 1735. Oh no, I've been tricked. Yang Hongwu suddenly felt that something was wrong. He didn't expect that the fantasy world sea demon would dare to trick him at this time. He could only blame himself for being a little careless. Yang Hongwu was furious. He instantly activated the space technique and moved away. Boom! The moment Yang Hongwu moved away, the thing in the box finally exploded. The huge impact destroyed everything within 100 feet radius. Under this overbearing power, nothing could survive. Everything turned into nothingness. Although Yang Hongwu dodged most of the attack, his shoulder was still severely injured. This attack made Yang Hongwu lose feeling in one of his arms. Blood flowed out from his arm. Yang Hongwu felt lucky. If he didn't have the secret technique of void travel and dodged in time, he would have died. He was afraid that he would have lost his life. Careless, he was really careless this time. How is it possible? How are you still alive? Seeing Yang Hongwu appear hundreds of meters away and alive, the fantasy world siren's eyes widened. She was terrified. She thought that Yang Hongwu was dead for sure, but she didn't expect that he would be able to survive. This terrifying attack couldn't kill Yang Hongwu. Instead, it let him live. Only one of his arms was injured. Terrifying. This young man was too terrifying. Even an Imperial Emperor realm expert would be severely injured if he didn't die under the impact of this terrifying power. However, this young man was still alive and well. Regret. At this moment, the fantasy world sea demon knew that this time, he was in big trouble. Yang Hongwu had already spared his life before, but he wanted to kill Yang Hongwu. This time, Yang Hongwu wouldn't let him go. At this time, it was useless to regret. Sorry to disappoint you. Yang Hongwu looked at the fantasy world sea demon and said coldly, thanks to you, this is the first time I've been so seriously injured in the war-stopping Divine Palace. You were so close to killing me. Unfortunately, you were so close. If I didn't have the secret technique to travel through space, I wouldn't be able to kill you. If it wasn't for my strong physical body, I would be dead by now. The fantasy world Kraken took a deep breath, looked at Yang Hongwu and said, you are really lucky. This time, I can't kill you, but I won't let you have an easy time. Let's die together. After saying that, the fantasy world siren's chi began to rise. His whole body emitted a violent chi. He knew that Yang Hongwu would not let him go. Since he was going to die, it was a good choice to die together with him. He didn't deny that Yang Hongwu was very powerful. He was unbelievably powerful. He was caught off guard, and such a terrifying attack was not able to kill him. This was beyond his expectation. However, although he had avoided the fatal attack, he was still injured. He should not be able to stop the fantasy world sea demon from perishing together with him. You want to die together with me? Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. Naive, you are too naive. If it was before, maybe you could do it. But now, it is a fool's dream. After saying that, Yang Hongwu moved his mind and a formation appeared in this space. This formation immediately isolated the fantasy world sea demon from this small world. This formation was the upgraded version of the isolation formation. This formation was extremely powerful. Although it did not have any attacking power, it could isolate the heavenly way and even the great way. As soon as this formation appeared, the fantasy world sea demon lost contact with this small world. What is going on? The fantasy world sea demon was terrified. He shouted, You? How did you do it? The fantasy world sea demon found that he had lost contact with the small world. This meant that he could no longer communicate with the origin energy of the small world. Even if he wanted to self-destruct the small world and perish together with Yang Hongwu, it was impossible. This method was too powerful and terrifying. He had silently set up a formation to isolate the fantasy world sea demon from the small world. It was terrifying. This way, he was in despair. This time, he was really going to die. There was no chance for him to live. Yang Hongwu would never let him go. You schemed against me and wanted to kill me. Why do you have to do this? Yang Hongwu looked at the fantasy world sea demon and said, I didn't want to kill you at first, but you forced me to do it. Do you really think that I have no other way? The fantasy world sea demon was in despair after being cut off from the small world. At this moment, the fantasy world sea demon knew that he was going to die. He looked at Yang Hongwu and said, I know that you won't let me go. Can you tell me why I died? How did you cut me off from my small world? There's no harm in telling you. I set up a formation, an isolation formation. Yang Hongwu said, in this formation, no matter how strong you are, you will be cut off from the outside world. Even if you are the master of heavenly way, you will still be isolated. Unless you can break this formation with your own strength. Otherwise, you won't be able to sense the power outside. What a fine isolating array. Truly impressive. I didn't expect that you, a mere 9th-level Divine Lord human martial artist, are actually also such a powerful array master. You're the most outstanding and most powerful genius that I've encountered in so many years. If I could do it all over again, I absolutely wouldn't oppose you. The fantasy world sea demon knew that he was going to die, but he didn't give up. He wanted to fight to the death. Come, human. Attack. I know I'm not your opponent, but I won't let you kill me. You want to kill me? But it's not that easy. Let me see how strong you are. After saying that, the fantasy world sea demon transformed into his true form. He was a huge sea beast with a ferocious face. His huge body was like a mountain. His body exuded a powerful aura. The two women were weak, and they were forced to retreat under the powerful pressure. With a thought, Yang Hongwu waved his hand, and a ray of light fell on the two women, protecting them. Then, a saber appeared in Yang Hongwu's hand. It was the Grand Mist Saber, one of Yang Hongwu's strongest weapons. Chapter 1736. In an instant, Yang Hongwu took the initiative to launch an attack. Yang Hongwu's mental strength exploded as he slashed out with his saber. In Yang Soul Lock Curse. The soul attack broke through the fantasy world sea demon's sea of consciousness. The fantasy world sea demon did not expect the human in front of him to have a soul attack. Before he could react, his soul was injured. Then, Yang Hongwu's Hong Meng saber tore through his defense and slashed his body. When the fantasy world sea demon died, he was filled with despair. He couldn't believe that he couldn't even last a single round. He died so miserably. In fact, with the fantasy world siren's strength, it would not have been so easy for Yang Hongwu to kill it. However, the fantasy world siren was too careless. It did not expect Yang Hongwu to have a secret soul attack that could easily tear apart its defense. This was why Yang Hongwu was able to kill it so easily. He had easily killed him. After the fantasy world sea demon was killed, Yang Hongwu found himself in front of a passage. Yang Hongwu was speechless. What the F***ck, he was sent out. He was sent out of the fantasy world sea demon's world. Yang Hongwu had a premonition that the fantasy world sea demon was not dead yet. Yang Hongwu was familiar with the passage in front of him. It was the passage to the next level of the test. Originally, Yang Hongwu wanted to devour the fantasy world sea demon's strength after killing it. In addition, the origin energy of the fantasy world sea demon's small world could not help him reach the half-step divine emperor realm. It should not be a problem for him to reach the peak 9th layer divine monarch realm. However, after killing the fantasy world oceanic demon, he was teleported out. It was a pain in the ass for him to be so depressed. Although it was frustrating, there was nothing he could do. However, it was fortunate that this time, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything. He even obtained the beast skin that contained information about the common people's Great Seal. Brother Yang, we passed the test? Pang Lijuan asked. Yes, we have passed the test of the 3rd floor. Yang Hongwu nodded. It's a pity that I didn't get the illusory world sea demon's Niden. There should be a lot of benefits on the illusory world sea demon's body. If I knew that I would be teleported out after killing the illusory world sea demon, I would have done it. Let's not kill that guy. Big Brother Yang, are we directly entering the 4th floor now? Pang Li asked. There's no rush. Let me see what secrets this fantasy world sea demon's hide holds. As Yang Hongwu spoke, he took out the beast skin that the fantasy world sea demon had exchanged for his life. There were restrictive runes on it that ordinary people wouldn't be able to see through. Furthermore, if they wanted to be strong, they would be able to see through them. If they tried to break this barrier, they would most likely destroy this piece of animal skin, which would not be worth it. After all, this was a treasure map related to a supreme artifact. No one was willing to let this treasure map go to waste. Big Brother Yang, is there a big secret on this animal skin? Seeing that Yang Hongwu valued the animal skin so much, Pang Liren asked curiously. Yes, there is a big secret recorded on this animal skin. It's my opportunity. It's the thing that I value the most. I didn't expect that I would get it from the illusory world sea demon. However, it's not easy to get what I want. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath and took out 9 pills. 9 pills. These 9 pills were none other than the limit-breaking pills. Yang Hongwu took out 9 restriction-breaking pills to break the barrier on a piece of animal skin. It was obvious that Yang Hongwu valued this piece of animal skin very much. Yang Hongwu didn't want any accidents to happen, because if there were any accidents during the process of breaking the barrier, the animal skin would be destroyed. If the animal skin was destroyed, the information on it would be lost. This was something that Yang Hongwu couldn't accept. After all, the life seal was just too important to Yang Hongwu. It was just too important. He couldn't allow any accidents to happen to it. If he lost any information about the Great Life Seal this time, then he didn't know when he would be able to find any more information about it. Therefore, he couldn't afford to lose this piece of animal skin. Big Brother Yang. Pang Liren was about to ask when she saw Yang Hongwu take out the pills. However, Pang Lijuan pulled her hand and stopped her from speaking. Don't disturb Big Brother Yang. He's trying to decipher the secret on the animal skin. Yang Hongwu performed a series of hand seals and executed a series of hand seals. 9 limit-breaking pills were instantly unleashed. A powerful force combined with Yang Hongwu's hand seals, resulting in a brilliant glow that encapsulated the ancient beast hide. In the next moment, the animal skin underwent a huge change. The animal skin turned golden. The runes on it turned into a map. A location was clearly recorded on the map. Boundless Realm, 10,000 Divine Mountain, Tomb of the Divine King. Taking a deep breath, Yang Hongwu memorized the information on the animal skin. Then, Yang Hongwu put the animal skin away. Big Brother Yang, what's recorded on the animal skin? Pang Liren asked. Boundless Realm, 10,000 Divine Mountain. Yang Hongwu said. There's something I need there. Unfortunately, I don't know where the Boundless Realm is. It should be a world of its own, a great world. It's not in the war-stopping Divine Temple. There should be a passage to the Boundless Realm here. This left Yang Hongwu in a dilemma. It was a great world. He wanted to return to the Divine Domain, but he also wanted to find the fragment of the life seal to improve his cultivation. If he wasn't strong enough and returned to the Divine Domain, Yang Hongwu wouldn't have any chance of winning against Zetian. However, if he went to the Divine Domain, if he didn't return to the Divine Realm, but instead went to the vast expanse world to search for the fragment of the Great Seal of the Common Life, he would be wasting time. In that case, once he found the fragment of the Great Seal of the Common Life and returned to the Divine Realm, he didn't know how things would develop. If something happened to Hu Xiu and the others, Yang Hongwu wouldn't be able to accept it. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was in a dilemma. Taking a deep breath, Yang Hongwu threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. Let's not worry about that for now. Right now, the most important thing was to pass the first test of the war-stopping Divine Temple. After all, no matter which world he went to, he had to pass the test of the war-stopping Divine Temple. Perhaps there was a way to solve this problem in the war-stopping Divine Temple? Big Brother Yang, what's wrong? Pang Lijuan asked with concern. Chapter 1737. Each of the 3 levels was more difficult than the last. This was only the first self-defense Divine Palace. Every self-defense Divine Palace had 9 levels, and there were a total of 9 Divine Palaces. This made Yang Hongwu feel immense pressure. If he wanted to pass the 9 Divine Palaces tests, the difficulty would not be ordinary. Great. One could imagine how powerful the so-called Sun God was. Of course, the Sun God didn't pass the tests of the 6 Divine Palaces like him. It wasn't 30 times as difficult. Yang Hongwu and the 2 girls entered the 4th level together. The 4th level's difficulty was a bit higher than the 3rd level's. However, it wasn't a big problem. With Yang Hongwu's various trump cards, they passed safely. However, Yang Hongwu's cultivation still didn't increase. On the other hand, the 2 girls obtained considerable benefits on the 4th level, and their strength increased. Thus, the 5th level's test, the 6th level's test, the difficulty increased along the way. Of course, there were more daunting than dangerous. Finally, they arrived at the final test of the first divine palace, the 9th level's test. The three of them stood at the entrance of the 9th level's test. The 9th level, we've finally arrived at the 9th level of the first divine palace. It really wasn't easy, Pang Lijuan said. Yeah, this test is really difficult. The two girls were very clear that if they relied only on the two of them, they definitely wouldn't be able to pass this test. This test was too difficult. Basically, the two of them didn't do much. It was all thanks to Yang Hongwu. In reality, what the two girls didn't know was that, if they were alone, the test's difficulty would be much easier than the test with Yang Hongwu. It would probably be 100 times easier than this test, or perhaps even more. After all, the test was based on Yang Hongwu. He was the strongest. Therefore, after the three of them entered the test was based on Yang Hongwu's strength, and the difficulty was increased by 30 times. That was why the self-defense Divine Palaces test this time was so difficult. With the strength and aptitude of the two women, if they acted alone, not to mention passing the tests of the other temples, they should have no problem passing the test of the first temple. After all, the two women's previous lives were not simple. Let's go. Let's go in and see what the test of the 9th level is all about. Yang Hongwu smiled faintly and stepped into the tunnel. After a few breaths, the three of them appeared in a world. Looking at the situation in front of him, Yang Hongwu took a deep breath. This place seemed to be an ancient tomb. The entire place was gloomy, making people feel very uncomfortable. The aura here is very annoying, Pang Lijuan said. Yes, it's eerie, like a ghost town. It's really uncomfortable. Pang Liren nodded in agreement. This is a great tomb. Could it be that our test this time around is within this great tomb? Pang Lijuan looked at the situation before her and asked. It's pretty close. Yang Hongwu nodded. In this great tomb, there are 3 powerful auras. They should be the targets of our test this time. Defeating them should allow us to pass the test of the first temple. This test is really annoying. I don't like it here. Pang Liren muttered. It can't be helped. Yang Hongwu said. Since it's a test, it's not up to us to choose. In fact, Yang Hongwu did not like these so-called tests either. Although he had already passed the first 8 levels of tests, it was a pity that apart from the 3rd level, the rest of the tests did not bring him much benefit. I know that, but I just don't like the atmosphere and environment here. Pang Liren said. We will pass the test soon. It won't take too long. Yang Hongwu said. In fact, apart from the 3rd level that took a longer time, the rest of the tests did not take long. However, Yang Hongwu had a premonition that the last test of the first temple would take the most time out of all the tests. Let's go in and have a look. The owner of this great tomb seems to be not simple. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. In this great tomb, there were 3 powerful auras. They were all early divine emperors. However, the thing that interested Yang Hongwu the most was not these 3 powerful auras. It was an extremely cold aura. It seemed to be a treasure, an extremely cold treasure. Such a treasure would be of great help to Yang Hongwu. Although he did not need it, he could give it to his women. Therefore, what Yang Hongwu cared about the most now was that treasure of extreme een and extreme cold. Perhaps this was what he had gained from this level. Of course, it was still too early to talk about other things since he had not obtained it yet. Okay. The 2 women followed behind Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and a ball of light appeared in front of the 3 of them, illuminating the way forward. After entering the great tomb, it was extremely cold and gloomy. Gusts of chilly wind blew, causing people to shudder. As soon as they entered the passage of the great tomb, Yang Hongwu sensed several auras. They were probably some small ghosts that were staring at him. Yang Hongwu found it funny. They were so weak, and yet they dared to stare at him. Give me back my life. Give me back my life. A voice repeated and a shadow appeared in the distance. Disgusting. Pang Liren was furious. She waved her hand and shot out a spirit light, which instantly bombarded the ghost and killed it. The other ghosts were scared to death when they saw this scene. They immediately fled. However, there was one ghost that did not escape. Although the aura of this ghost was very weak, its power was very pure. This made Yang Hongwu very curious. The purity of this ghost's power shocked Yang Hongwu. Pang Liren's attack just now could not cause any damage to this ghost. This ghost is very strange. It is not affected by my attack at all. At this time, Pang Liren also noticed this point. She was very curious. She gathered her magic power and reached out to grab the ghost. This ghost's speed was very shocking. It dodged Pang Liren's grab in an instant. Although Pang Liren was fast, she did not even touch the ghost's shadow. Chapter 1738. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! You're courting death. Pang Liren was infuriated to the extreme when she failed to catch the ghost again and again. It was as if the ghost was toying with her. Moreover, it was making faint sounds as if it was mocking her. Yang Hongwu sighed. Looking at Pang Liren's state of mind, her state of mind was still too weak. She had almost lost her mind after a few rounds. If she met a true expert, it would be terrible. Liren, stop. I'll take care of this little bastard. At this time, Yang Hongwu pulled Pang Liren and said, Big brother Yang, you must help me take care of this little bastard. It actually dared to tease me. Damn it, it's really too despicable. Pang Liren's tone at this time was like a little girl who had her candy snatched away. She looked very cute. Don't worry. With me here, it won't be able to escape. Yang Hongwu chuckled. A toad yawning, what a big tone. At this time, the ghost actually opened its mouth to speak. Whether it's a big tone or not, you'll know soon enough. With that, Yang Hongwu waved his hand and condensed his dermic powers into a rope. This rope instantly flew towards the ghost. You want to tie me up? Dream on. The ghost looked at the rope condensed by Yang Hongwu's dermic powers and sneered. It didn't take it seriously at all. However, in the next moment it couldn't laugh anymore. This was because the rope condensed by Yang Hongwu's dermic powers seemed to have grown eyes. It instantly appeared in front of it and tied up its body. How is this possible? Damn it, what kind of rope is this? No matter how hard it struggled, it was unable to break free from Yang Hongwu's rope. Furthermore, this rope brought it terrifying pain, constantly burning its soul. That piercing pain pierced into its bones, and the searing pain seeped deep into its soul. It was a fate worse than death. Damn little bastard, weren't you very arrogant just now? At this time, Pang Liren laughed. She took out a long sword and fiercely slashed at the ghost. In an instant, one of the ghost's arms was chopped off. However, what was surprising was that in the next moment, the arm was reattached as if it wasn't injured at all. This made the three of them very surprised. One had to know that the sword of Pang Liren was not simple. Especially when it came to spiritual bodies like ghosts. The damage it caused was definitely impossible to recover in a short period of time. This ghost is not simple. Yang Hongwu opened his Dharma eye to investigate the Yin soul. He found that the Yin soul's spiritual energy was very special. It seemed to have absorbed some special energy, which allowed the Yin soul to grow to such a level. If the Yin soul's strength was increased by another level, then it would reach an unimaginable level. Yang Hongwu reached out and grabbed the Yin soul, bringing it in front of him. Damned human, you can't kill me. Moreover, all of you will die here. Anyone who enters the Ming Mie's tomb will die here. Haha, you are no exception. The Yin soul forcefully endured his pain and cried out. The owner of this tomb is called Ming Mie? Yang Hongwu smiled faintly, not putting this in his eyes. My strength is not as simple as you think. You will die. If you tell me what I want to know, I might give you a quick death. But if you refuse, I will give you a quick death. But if you refuse, you will die miserably. You can't kill me. Lord Ming Mie's strength isn't something you can imagine. A mere 9th-level divine lord martial artist is like an ant. Even a peak divine sovereign expert back then died in the hands of Lord Mingmia. You? That Een soul roared, wait a moment, your time of death has come. Is that so? Yang Hongwu couldn't help but admit that, in the face of imminent death, it still dared to act so arrogantly. Did it really think that he wouldn't be able to kill it? Yang Hongwu had to admit that most people wouldn't be able to do anything to it. Its power was simply too unique, and was being guided by the magical laws of the great necropolis. It was immortal and indestructible. Unfortunately, it met him. It had a strand of its essence attached to the great necropolis, so as long as the necropolis existed and its magical laws were destroyed, it wouldn't die. Even if it did die, it would come back to life. Unfortunately, its opponent was Yang Hongwu. It never imagined that Yang Hongwu had a divine fire. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary divine fire, but the incomparably powerful karmic fire of the Red Lotus. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus could incinerate all evil things. Souls with karmic power would be incinerated into nothingness in front of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and a ball of flame appeared in his right hand. The ball of flame danced like an adorable sprite. However, the appearance of this ball of flame caused the dark spirit to be extremely terrified. It could feel that the ball of flame could easily kill it. It would be a complete death, and there would be no chance of revival. At this moment, it was terrified. Congratulations, you can experience the power of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. I think that your life will be worth it if you can die under the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. No, don't. It cried out. It didn't want to die. It no longer had the unyielding attitude it had before. What do you want to know? I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. Too late, it's too late. Yang Hongwu shook his head. I don't need you to tell me what I want to know. I can take you into the tomb, Yang Qi said. This place is filled with danger, with countless restrictive spells. If you're not careful, you'll be consigned to eternal damnation. But with my help, you'll be able to enter the depths of the great necropolis without encountering any danger. So, please don't kill me. The closer it got to the divine fire, the more terrified it became. No need. Yang Hongwu replied coldly. Wait, don't kill me. I know a secret, a huge secret that only I know. Hearing this, Yang Hongwu stopped. With Yang Hongwu's means, he could naturally tell that this guy was not lying. Under such circumstances, if he could still lie and escape Yang Hongwu's detection, then it was really not simple. However, this guy had not reached that level yet. What secret? Tell me. If it's worth it, I'll let you go. If it's not worth it and you're lying to me, I'll let you experience the terror of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. When the time comes, I'll let you suffer the burning of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus for 100 years. I'll let you understand what it means to be in a dilemma. Chapter 1739. I definitely won't disappoint you. The dark spirit trembled and said. Speak. Yang Hongwu said. Yang Hongwu was also very curious about this. This fellow seemed to know a lot of secret. It seemed like he didn't even know about the owner of the tomb, Mingmia. My lord, the truth is that the original owner of this great necropolis was not Mingmia, but someone else. Beneath the great necropolis is an arcane pocket realm, and I'm the only one who knows the entrance to that arcane pocket realm. Inside that arcane pocket realm is a precious treasure that contains boundless soul power. The reason why I'm able to reach my current level is because I obtained a wisp of soul energy from the secret realm. Is there another secret realm beneath the great necropolis? Yang Hongwu was taken aback. He had searched the entire great tomb, but he hadn't found anything out of the ordinary. Yang Hongwu had sensed that treasure of extreme een and extreme coldness. Could it be that it was merely the eye of a formation? Or was it just an entrance? Just a mouth? If that's the case, then the secret realm below the tomb is really not simple. It seems like I'll have a great harvest this time. Take me there. Yang Hongwu said. I can't. The dark spirit smiled bitterly. Lord, if you want to go to the secret realm's entrance, you have to wait for an opportunity. Moreover, you have to pass through Lord Mingmia's cultivation room. If you go there, you'll definitely be discovered by Lord Mingmia. At that time, only death will await you. The dark spirit's strength was too weak after all. It was far from being Mingmia's opponent. If that wasn't the case, it would have entered the secret realm a long time ago and wouldn't be so weak. In fact, it had been constantly looking for an opportunity to enter the secret realm again. However, it had never succeeded because Mingmia would not allow it to freely enter his own cultivation area. The last time it entered was just an accident. It was like this. Opportunities were hard to come by. Unless it could gain Mingmia's complete trust, but was that possible? The cultivation room was Mingmia's lifeline. It was his most important place. How could he let a small soul enter and leave freely? Even the person most important to him couldn't enter. If someone were to disturb him while he was cultivating, it might cost him his life. Thus, it was impossible for him to open his cultivation room to others. Even if it was the person closest to him, it was still impossible. After all, one must always be on guard against others. Then let's fight our way in, Yang Hongwu said. But, Master, Mingmia is terrifyingly strong. I'm telling the truth. Back then, Mingmia killed a cultivator of the top of the godly emperor layer. The Yin soul was extremely worried. If he were to face Mingmia like this, and this person in front of him wasn't Mingmia's match, then wouldn't he be the same? Was it equivalent to a dead end? It didn't want to die. At this moment, the Yin spirit's heart was crumbling. If it had known this would happen, it wouldn't have appeared. It would have been better off hiding. That way it would still be free. Furthermore, it would still be able to live a good life in the future. In fact, if this young man died together with Mingmia, it would still be able to live alone, because it could occupy the secret territory and obtain the supreme opportunity. Now, not only was it difficult to obtain the opportunity, it might even lose its life. Therefore, it was very aggrieved, depressed and helpless. Who asked it to be so weak? If it was strong enough, it wouldn't be a problem. Yang Hongwu didn't care what this guy was thinking. For Yang Hongwu, Mingmia and the others were all people that he had to deal with. Otherwise, how could he pass this test? Of course, Yang Hongwu didn't dare to be careless. After all, that guy was able to kill a cultivator of the top of the godly emperor layer. Even if it wasn't real, it was still very terrifying. A cultivator of the top of the godly emperor layer, even if his strength hadn't recovered, was still not something that ordinary people could deal with, unless it was a dying godly emperor layer. However, Yang Hongwu reckoned that it wouldn't be that difficult. His opponent's strength was not at the level of the top of the godly emperor layer. If that was the case, how could he pass the next few tests? It would be better to just admit defeat and leave. My lord, you have to think twice. The tomb owner, Mingmia, is not that simple. It is said that Mingmia has two brothers. One of them is even stronger than Mingmia himself. If the three of them work together, you won't be able to defeat them. Shut up. There are three of them. Don't we also have 3 people? Pang Li said. Moreover, Brother Yang's strength is unrivaled. He can fight against 10 or even thousands of people. Mingmia and his brothers are nothing to him. The dark spirit didn't know what to say after hearing that. However, its eyes showed that it didn't care about Pang Li. This woman has long hair and short wit. What does she know? She's just a girl who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Why? Are you disobeying my order? Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. I said, lead the way. Yes, my lord. Looking at Yang Hongwu's murderous eyes, the dark spirit was shocked. It didn't dare to refute and led the way. In a hall in the great tomb, Mingmia and 2 other people were sitting cross-legged. I didn't expect this little dark spirit to betray me. What the dark spirit didn't know was that their conversation was seen by Mingmia. Yang Hongwu knew about this. When the dark spirit talked about the secret realm, Yang Hongwu sealed the space, so Mingmie didn't hear it. As for other things, Yang Hongwu didn't stop Mingmie from investigating. That's good too. That young man is extremely talented and has great luck. If we can catch him and use the supreme secret technique to steal the sun, maybe we can leave this damned place. A man in white beside Mingmie said. Big brother, do you really want to do that? When Mingmie heard this, he frowned slightly and said, This is very dangerous. That person's strength is too terrifying. It's not something we can fight against. If that person finds out, you'll be in danger. If you're not careful, you might lose your life. Your soul will scatter. There's no other way. There's no other way. This is our only chance. We've been struggling at death's door for countless years in this divine temple. I've had enough. I must seize this chance. A cold light burst out from that person's eyes. Hatred flashed in his eyes. Chapter 1740. Yang Hongwu did not know about this. Although Yang Hongwu discovered the existence of Mingmie and the other two, Yang Hongwu knew nothing about their origins. Yang Hongwu did not know that he was being watched. However, with Yang Hongwu's character, he would not care even if he knew about it. Moreover, it was unrealistic to think of seizing his body. How powerful was his sea of soul? In his soul, there was the powerful karmic fire of the red lotus and the devouring furnace. With the protection of the supreme power, no matter how powerful the person was, it would be impossible to seize his body, let alone them. Honorable guests, I apologize for not welcoming you. At this moment, a passage appeared in front of Yang Hongwu and the other two. The voice came from the end of the passage. The person who spoke was none other than Mingmie. Lord Mingmie. The Yin soul was trembling in fear. It had been discovered. It felt helpless, but it had no other choice. It couldn't escape. This was Mingmie's tomb. Without Mingmie's permission, no one could leave this space. Everything here was under Mingmie's control. To think that a mere spirit would dare to betray me. Seems like I've been too merciful after all. As the voice faded, a gigantic hand reached out and grabbed at the spirit. Sir, save me. Seeing this large hand, the Yin soul was scared out of his wits, and he loudly cried out. Humph! Yang Hongwu coldly snorted, and a burst of energy burst out, forming a fist. With a light wave, it instantly shattered the big hand. It is my subordinate now. You want to kill my people in front of me? You are not giving me face. Yang Hongwu said. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. At this moment, the Yin soul was extremely grateful. It had thought that it would definitely die, but it didn't expect that Yang Hongwu's strength was really not simple. He had easily repelled Mingmie's attack. This kind of strength was really not weak. No wonder he had such big words and didn't kill Mingmie. Seeing this, the Yin spirit heaved a sigh of relief. At the very least, there was still a chance. At this moment, it had no other choice. Everything was on Yang Hongwu, including its life. For the sake of my honorable guests, I will spare your life. Mingmie did not continue his attack. Instead, he said, Honorable guests, please come in. Lord, be careful. Mingmie is up to no good. The dark spirit reminded. Just take care of yourself. Yang Hongwu snorted and walked into the passage with the two ladies. Yang Hongwu was not afraid of Mingmie. Yang Hongwu was not afraid of him. Mie's schemes. Yang Hongwu would only feel pressured if they were above the divine emperor realm. However, Yang Hongwu was not worried that they would be able to kill him as long as they were still in the divine emperor realm. However, the strength of Mingmie and the other two had not reached that level. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was bold and was not afraid of Mingmie's scheme. Good. Not bad. Not bad. Mingmie praised Yang Hongwu when he saw that he was not afraid. A while later, Yang Hongwu and the two women appeared at the entrance of the hall. Meanwhile, the dark spirit behind them felt its heart beating rapidly, as if it was extremely scared. You must be Mingmie, right? Yang Hongwu looked at the three people sitting in the main hall. The one in front should be Mingmia. Yes, it's me. These are my two brothers. Mingmia said. Wang Sheng. Zizai. The two of them said. Yang Hongwu looked at the three of them. The one named Zizai was the strongest. Mingmia was second and Wang Sheng was the weakest. However, to Yang Hongwu's surprise, the one named Wang Sheng seemed to have a higher level of soul than Mingmia and the other two. Honorable guests, please take a seat. Mingmia waved his hand and 3 futons appeared in front of him. These 3 futons were obviously prepared for Yang Hongwu and the other two. The dark spirit was not qualified to sit on them. Yang Hongwu did not stand on ceremony. He was not afraid of Mingmia's schemes. He sat down cross-legged. The 2 ladies did the same. They believed in Yang Hongwu. I think the 3 of you should know why I am here. Yang Hongwu looked at Mingmia and said, I wonder if the 3 of you can agree? Mingmia shook his head and said, This is not up to us. If you want to pass this test, you have to go through another round. The 3 of you together? Yang Hongwu asked. If the 3 of them attacked together, Yang Hongwu would feel a lot of pressure. After all, the weakest of the 3 was at the intermediate godly emperor realm, while the strongest, Zizai, was at the late godly emperor realm. It was no wonder that the 3 of them could kill a peak divine emperor. If the 3 of them worked together, they would have the advantage in the tomb. Not to mention a peak divine emperor, even a half-emperor would be in danger of dying. Therefore, if the 3 of them worked together, it would be difficult to deal with them. Yes. Mingmia nodded and said, However, if you are willing to agree to one of our conditions, it is not impossible to let you pass. Yang Hongwu was slightly stunned by Mingmia's words. They wanted to let him pass but wanted to negotiate with him. This was interesting. Half of Master's origin, Wang Sheng said. Hearing this, before Yang Hongwu could say anything, Pang Liren was furious and said, You must be dreaming. Everyone knew what half of the origin meant. If a cultivator lost half of his origin, he would be crippled. Not to mention the fall of his cultivation, it was just a small matter. What was more important was that if he lost half of his origin, it meant that he would not be able to make any progress in the future. If a cultivator lost half of his origin, his foundation would be damaged, and he would not be able to recover. He would not be able to make any progress in his cultivation anymore. You are going too far, Pang Lijuan said angrily. Yang Hongwu pressed down on the 2 girls and smiled at the 3 of them, saying, You want half of my origin? You are really arrogant. However, what right do you have to take half of my origin? If you have the ability, you can take all of my origin. Chapter 1741. If you win, everything will be up to you, Wang Sheng said. However, if young master loses, you'll still have to hand over half of your origin energy. Brother Yang, these 3 shameless bastards must have been prepared to set you up, Pang Li said. That's right. These 3 bastards are obviously up to no good. Pang Lijuan was a little worried. The 3 of them were all very strong. Moreover, this was their territory. It was impossible for them not to have set up any trap. Yang Hongwu waved his hand, not caring at all. Okay. The fact that Yang Hongwu agreed so readily made Mingmia and the other 2 extremely surprised. Could it be that this brat had some powerful trump card on him? Why was he so fearless? However, to the 3 of them, this was exactly what they wanted. Their scheme this time around was to allow Wang Sheng, the eldest of the 3, to use the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique to leave this place that had trapped them for countless years. The 3 of them were originally peerless almighties, existences that surpassed the emperor. However, they were set up and their cultivation was extracted. They were trapped here and became examiners, day after day, year after year. Now, finally, there was an extremely talented person who was easy to deal with. As the eldest, Wang Sheng had the idea of using the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique to leave this place. The master of the divine palace was extremely strong. It was impossible for him to leave directly. He could only use a secret technique to steal the sky and change the sun. Only then would he have a chance to survive. However, it was only a chance to survive. Please! Yang Hongwu stood up and looked at the two girls. Wait here. I'll be back soon. No, Brother Yang, we have to go together, Pang Liren said hurriedly. That's right. We can't be separated, Pang Lijuan said. Lord, alright, don't worry. Then, Yang Hongwu moved his mind and a clone appeared in front of them. It was the technique of the three pure ones with one breath. This is a clone of mine. It will protect you, so don't worry. After saying that, Yang Hongwu flashed and appeared in front of Mingmia. Let's go. I want to see how strong the three of you are. What a good incarnation technique. It's really mysterious. No wonder you have such a tone. Wang Xing exclaimed in admiration. The three of them were once experts who were above the emperor. Although their cultivation had fallen and their strength was far from recovered, their eyesight was not bad. Yang Hongwu's incarnation technique was indeed powerful. Harming someone to the extreme was not something an ordinary person could do. In truth, the three of them had only seen the surface. They had not discovered the true strength of this incarnation art. Yang Hongwu's lips curled into a smile. The four of them quickly entered a space. It was another space in the great tomb. It was very vast, but also very barren. There was almost no life here. Compared to the outside world, it was like a land of death. Young master, this is a special space. It has been sealed. No one will disturb us, so we can use all our skills here, Mingmia said. Not bad, not bad. It's really a good place to kill people. This place is isolated from the heavenly Tao and sealed off space. It's a land of death. Yang Hongwu saw the uniqueness of this space. It was similar to his own isolation formation. It was very powerful and not simple. Moreover, it was not a formation, but a restriction. To set up such a space, a huge price had to be paid. Yang Hongwu could see that the strength of the three was not limited to what was in front of him. The arrangement of this space must have taken a lot of effort from the three of them. They must have spent a lot of effort to make their cultivation fall to this level. Otherwise, they would be late divine emperors or even peak divine emperors. The three of them had probably set up this space for a long time. Perhaps it was for people like him to come. Good plan. What a good plan. Haha, little brother, you're really good. You're very talented and intelligent. It's a pity that you've entered our space. I'm afraid it's not up to you anymore, Mingmia said and laughed. It seems like you've been waiting for this day for a long time. Yang Hongwu looked at the three of them and said, I wonder if the three of you can tell me why I died? At this moment, Wang Xing spoke. The three of us brothers originally possessed extraordinary strength. We were peak imperial emperors. We were only a step away from breaking through our bottlenecks and becoming supreme existences. However, we never expected that we would be schemed against by someone that day, and our cultivations would be sealed. We became that person's prisoners and became that person's test to train his disciples. Wang Xing's eyes were filled with hatred when he said that. How could Wang Xing not feel hatred when his cultivation was reduced and he was sealed here for countless years and became a tool for that person to test his disciples? Mingmia and Ji Zai were the same. Their hatred for that person could be said to be through the sky. Unfortunately, that person was too powerful. He was too terrifying. Although we three brothers were very talented and powerful, we were simply no match for that person. When Wang Xing said those words, his eyes were filled with intense hatred. At the same time, they were also filled with extreme fear. That person's strength was far beyond theirs. The three of them didn't even have the chance to see that person's appearance before they were captured without being able to fight back. One should know that the three of them were at the peak of the Emperor realm back then. Unless it was someone stronger than the Emperor realm, no one would be a match for them. However, the three of them were like ants in the hands of that person. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. However, we will definitely get our revenge. There will be a day when we will teach that person a lesson, Wang Xing said loudly. The person that you all speak of should be the master of this self-defense divine palace, right? Yang Hongwu said. The master of the self-defense divine palace is indeed very powerful. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath. While Yang Hongwu didn't know exactly how powerful the master of the self-defense divine palace was, there was one thing that he was certain of. He was certain that the master of the self-defense divine palace's cultivation was far from something that he could come into contact with at the moment. That's right. That guy is indeed very powerful. However, we are not weak either. As long as we can leave this place, I will have the opportunity to get my revenge, Wang Xing said with great confidence. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. This guy seemed to be hiding some sort of enormous trump card. He was actually so confident that he would have a pretty good opportunity. Since you all know how powerful the master of the self-defense divine palace is, how could you possibly escape from his control right under his nose? Chapter 1742. You won't be able to escape from here, and that person won't know either, said Wang Xing. So, there's no harm in telling you. I have a powerful secret art that can steal the sky and swap the sun. When the time comes, I'll leave this space and that person won't know. What a great plan! What a great plan! What a great plan, said Wang Xing. Yang Hongwu sighed. He finally understood the plan of these three people. However, although their plan was good, they neglected one point. That was Yang Hongwu himself. Of course, there was also Na Ji. Of course, there was also the master of the Spear Divine Palace. The three of them had underestimated the master of the Spear Divine Palace, and even more so, they had underestimated Yang Hongwu. If the master of the Spear Divine Palace couldn't even see that, he wouldn't be the master of the Spear Divine Palace. As for Yang Hongwu, he had already planned everything. If he hadn't, how could he have dared to appear here? How could he have dared to fight against the three of them alone? After all, although the three of them weren't peak cultivators, they were still godly emperors. In addition, this was their territory. The three of them had the advantage of time, place, and people. None of them would be stupid enough to fight against an enemy who had the advantage of time, place, and people. That would be courting death, unless they reached a certain point. There was nothing they could do about it. As for Yang Hongwu, he hadn't reached such a level yet. Since Yang Hongwu dared to enter the Spear Divine Palace, he naturally had confidence. If he hadn't, how could he have dared to act so recklessly? Boy, you've answered your question. You can rest in peace now, said Mingmia. That's right. Little guy, you should surrender yourself. That way, the three of us can still let you live. As for your two women, I will take good care of them for you. I won't let any harm come to them, said Wang Xing. You're making yourself sound dignified and righteous, but you're actually worse than animals, said Yang Hongwu. You want to steal my body? You're too naive. No, actually, you're mistaken. Seeing Yang Hongwu's reaction, Wang Xing frowned slightly. If Yang Hongwu were to refuse to cooperate like this, it would be rather troublesome. Although it was possible for Wang Xing to forcibly attack Yang Hongwu and unleash a secret technique, doing so would exhaust an enormous amount of energy. Furthermore, there would also be many openings. Oh! Yang Hongwu smiled coldly. His eyes were filled with contempt. These three fellows wanted him to take the initiative to deliver himself to them. They were simply too naive. Actually, this counts as a cooperation. I just want you to take me out. I only need a strand of my spirit to be placed in your soul. At that time, I'll seal myself off. Once I'm out of the Divine Palace, I'll be free from that person's control and I'll leave. As for you, in fact, you'll be free. It won't cause too much damage either. It will only consume half of your origin energy. As for me, I will compensate you, Wang Xing said after pondering for a moment. There's no point in saying more. Yang Hongwu said. If you're able to defeat me, everything will be fine. If you're defeated, then I'm sorry, but I'll take all of your lives. What arrogance! Brat, who do you think you are? Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Unfettered was immediately enraged. Who did this brat think he was? The master of the self-defense divine palace? I am who I am, Yang Hongwu said coldly. Come, let me see the strength of the three of you. If you don't bring out your true abilities, I'm afraid that you'll all die. Big brother, let me teach this brat a lesson first, Unfettered said to Wang Xing. All right, but don't harm his body and soul origin. Wang Xing was going to use the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique. If he were to injure Yang Hongwu's body and origin energy, it would be difficult to deal with him. To Wang Xing, there was absolutely no room for error when using the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique. Even in this space, he could not afford to be careless. After all, the master of the divine palace of self-defense was too powerful. Wang Xing would not be able to perform the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique under his nose. Concealing it from him was not an easy task. One person is not enough. Truly not enough. Too weak. Not enough to fight, Yang Hongwu said. Brat, you're too arrogant. Zizai was enraged. In a flash, he appeared in front of Yang Hongwu. He stretched out his hand, and a majestic dermic powers burst out, forming a giant claw that grabbed at Yang Hongwu. The domineering powers squeezed the space together. This time, it seemed as if it was going to squeeze Yang Hongwu to death. Unfettered was truly enraged. Unfettered, don't injure him. Wang Xing's heart skipped a beat when he saw that. He was worried that Yang Hongwu would be injured by him. However, Yang Hongwu still had a smile on his face. Yang Hongwu's figure flashed, and he instantly disappeared from where he was. In merely a breath's time, he appeared behind Unfettered. Then, he sent out a punch. It was an ordinary punch, but it knocked Unfettered back several zhang. Seeing that scene, Mingmie and Wang Xing both opened their eyes wide. They found it unbelievable. This was especially true for Wang Xing. It could be said that half of this space was created by him. He had an absolute advantage here. This place was equivalent to his inner world. However, Yang Hongwu, under the restriction of the natural laws, was actually able to directly travel through the void and instantly appear behind Unfettered. How could Wang Xing not be shocked when he was punched in the back? The three of them could be said to be the masters of this space. Naturally, they were able to easily sense the natural laws of this space. However, they were unable to discover how Yang Hongwu had disappeared and appeared behind Unfettered. That secret technique was powerful. It was simply too powerful. If he were to fight against an enemy, when the disparity between his strength and his enemies wasn't too great, he would be undefeatable with that secret technique. It was no wonder that Brat had been so arrogant and insufferably arrogant. He didn't put anyone in his eyes at all. One must always be on guard against others. That Brat didn't put them in his eyes. It wasn't that he was arrogant. Rather, it was because he possessed such insufferably powerful strength. Wang Xing smiled coldly. He thought to himself, if the schemes of those three were so simple and easy, they wouldn't have dared to scheme against the master of the defense divine hall. Brat, your strength is not bad. However, merely relying on that teleportation technique is not enough. Unfettered snorted. Unfettered. Zizai snorted coldly. This secret technique of teleportation was indeed very powerful. However, this Brat had forgotten one thing. This was his territory. He was the master of this world. He was the master of this space. As a person, he could mobilize the natural laws of the world to restrict the space and seal it. Once the space was sealed, he would not be able to escape. Chapter 1743. Sealing the space is useless against me. My secret technique allows me to travel through 10,000 worlds. How can a small space trap me? Said Yang Hongwu mockingly. You're too weak. After saying that, Yang Hongwu slapped Zizai's face. This slap left a 5-finger mark on Zizai's face. This slap didn't cause too much damage to Zizai, but it was only physical damage. This slap caused real damage to Zizai's face. It could be said that this slap had caused him to lose face. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. Zizi had completely lost his mind after that slap. Wang Xing and Ming Mie's expressions changed when they saw that. Zizi had fallen into Yang Hongwu's trap and lost his mind. They could see that Yang Hongwu's cultivation level was too low. He wasn't even a divine emperor. No matter how talented he was or how powerful his secret technique was, he wouldn't be able to last for long. However, Zizi's trap was extremely powerful. That slap didn't cause any harm to Zizi. What kind of damage did it cause to his body? It wasn't even physical pain, but it ruined his mental state. In a battle between experts, it was fatal to have a breakdown in one's state of mind. Zizai, who had lost his mind, attacked Yang Hongwu in a frenzy. He was like a rash wild beast, without the slightest bit of order. Yang Hongwu looked at Zizi with disdain. He waved his hand and a ball of light burst out. That ball of light turned into a cage and trapped Zizi inside. Then, Yang Hongwu threw a ball of flame at Zizi's arm and it started burning. Zizi shrieked miserably. That flame wasn't an ordinary flame, it was the legendary karmic fire. At this moment, under the burning of the karmic fire, the piercing pain in his heart and lungs made him come back to his senses. He was once a strong cultivator, a cultivator who had surpassed the godly emperor realm. Naturally, he was experienced and knowledgeable. Naturally, he could sense the appearance of the fire. Karmic fire, it's the karmic fire, damn it. Without any hesitation, Zizai cut off one of his arms. Looking at the arm that fell to the ground, it instantly burned into ashes. Zizai's heart was filled with fear. When Wang Xing and Ming Mie saw this scene, they were also extremely shocked. Even though their cultivation level had dropped, their bodies were still extremely strong. They were far stronger than ordinary divine emperors. Their bodies were as strong as the emperors. However, their physical bodies were reduced to ashes in just a few breaths of time. If the two of them still couldn't see how terrifying this flame was, then they would have lived in vain for so many years. Moreover, Zizi had already mentioned the karmic fire. I said that you're too weak. Come at me together. Seeing that Wang Xing had already acted and used his immense power to break open the cage and save Carefree, Yang Hongwu said coldly as he looked at the three people. We have underestimated little brother's strength. Ming Mie squinted his eyes and looked at Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu's strength was beyond his expectation. He had thought that Zizai alone could easily suppress Yang Hongwu, but he had not expected that not only had he failed to suppress Yang Hongwu, but he had also lost an arm. If it had not been for his brother, reincarnation, acting in time, Zizai would have died at his hands. Wang Xing, Ming Mie and Zizi looked at each other and understood each other's thoughts. If that's the case, we won't be polite. Little brother, your strength is extraordinary. If we were to fight one-on-one, we wouldn't be able to defeat you. So, we have to bully you with numbers. Ming Mie took the initiative to attack. He waved his sword and a dazzling sword light condensed. At the same time, Wang Xing and Zizi didn't stay idle. The three of them formed a triangle and surrounded Yang Hongwu in the middle. They launched their attacks. The three of them didn't hold back, because they knew that this was a crucial moment. If they didn't take down Yang Hongwu soon, there would be new changes. Good! Yang Hongwu shouted. He didn't retreat from the three's attacks. It was as if he didn't put the three of them in his eyes. Yang Hongwu didn't take out his weapon. Instead, he condensed a huge millstone with his strong spiritual power. This was the yin-yang millstone. The strong yin-yang energy condensed on top of it. It was as if it was going to crush the three of them. Moreover, Yang Hongwu's soul attack was launched. The three of them trembled. Although it was only for a moment, it was enough for a lot of things to happen in a fight between experts. At this moment, Yang Hongwu's millstone appeared in front of the three of them. When the three of them came back to their senses, their expressions changed. The strong power forced the three of them to retreat a few steps. So powerful! What a terrifying attack! It's a soul attack! At this moment, Wang Xing was extremely shocked. It was very difficult for someone who had a soul attack to suppress their opponent. If it was only one person, it would be impossible. Fortunately, the three of them were here. The three of them worked together. Moreover, this was their natal space. They had paid a huge price to open this space. This space could isolate the master of the divine palace. Naturally, it wasn't that simple. The three of them seemed to be connected. At this moment, the three of them put away their weapons. They condensed their spiritual power in their hands and formed mysterious runes. These three runes intertwined together and lit up the entire space. At this moment, a shocking change occurred in the space. The entire space seemed to have started to shrink. The laws actually started to dissipate. Yang Hongwu sensed this change, and his expression changed. What kind of secret technique is this? Yang Hongwu realized that the space was shrinking. The laws were disappearing. The power of the entire space was squeezing towards Yang Hongwu. A supreme sealing technique. Wang Xing said, "Little brother, this time, in order to get rid of that person, in order to regain my freedom, I can only borrow your body. If there's a chance in the future, I'll repay your kindness." After saying this, Wang Xing's entire body turned into nothingness. He turned into a ray of white light and flew towards Yang Hongwu's body. Chapter 1744. What's going on? The three of them couldn't believe what they had just seen. A living person in a sealed space had actually disappeared just like that, without any warning. "This kid has a great concealment technique," Zizai said coldly. "But kid, if you think you can escape from us like this, you're too naive. I have a bad feeling. I'm afraid this kid has really escaped from here." Mingmia said, "Impossible. This is a sealed space. Even that person wouldn't be able to leave without us noticing. How strong is this brat's cultivation? It's impossible for him to leave this space in front of us without us noticing," Unfettered said loudly. "You're right. Maybe I'm wrong." Mingmia said, "Let's continue. I don't believe that we can't force this kid out. As long as he's in this space, he can't resist." Zizai's hatred for Yang Hongwu was obvious. If they let Yang Hongwu escape under such circumstances, it would be too shameful. At this moment, in the hall outside this space, Yang Hongwu opened his eyes. "It's my turn," Yang Hongwu said. The two women and the Yin soul were puzzled. They did not understand why Yang Hongwu's incarnation would say that. You want to save Brother Yang's original body? Did something happen to Brother Yang?" Pang Liren said hurriedly. "Haha, girl, do you think I'm that stupid?" Yang Hongwu laughed when he saw the worried look on Pang Liren and the other woman's faces. "What do you mean?" Pang Liren was stunned. Pang Li Juan came back to her senses and said, "Could it be that you're not an incarnation, but your original body?" "That's right." Yang Hongwu smiled. "I'm the original body." In fact, Yang Hongwu's Ichi Sanqing was extremely powerful. He could switch between his original body and incarnation at any time. This time, the person who had entered that space was one of Yang Hongwu's incarnations. As for his original body, it was outside. Not only that, but Yang Hongwu also secretly arranged a formation. This formation sealed off the entire Great Tomb, isolating it from the outside world. It formed an independent space, and this consumed a lot of energy. However, Yang Hongwu had extracted a spirit vein from the Ming Destroyer Great Tomb. The Great Ming Destroyer Tomb wasn't a simple place. Beneath it was a special space that contained boundless energy. The spiritual energy that emanated from that space formed a spirit vein. That spirit vein was the key to supporting the Great Ming Destroyer Tomb, as well as that space itself. Now, Yang Hongwu had used the formation to turn the spirit vein into the core of the formation, providing energy for the formation. Naturally, that space was suppressed. All of this was done silently by Yang Hongwu, and no one knew about it. As for Wang Xing and the other two, they were still in the dark, and did not know about it at all. Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan were overjoyed when they heard Yang Hongwu's words. That's great. I knew Big Brother Yang was the best. Pang Liren was so happy that she jumped up and down. After I take care of these three, I'll go look for that secret realm. After Yang Hongwu finished speaking, he formed a seal with both of his hands. A mysterious seal was formed and the entire space started to vibrate. A formation shot up to the sky instantly. The moment the formation appeared, Wang Xing, Ming Mie and Ming Mie, who were in the space, were stunned. They immediately felt the impact of the power. What's going on? Ming Mie frowned. Did an outsider intrude into the Great Tomb? That's impossible. Every level of the self-defense Divine Palace tests a different person. Our level is a test of the Great Tomb. With that young man around, it's impossible for anyone to intrude, said Wang Xing. That's not absolute, said Ming Mie. I'm afraid we're in trouble. Maybe the person behind the young man sensed that he was in danger, so he appeared to save him. That's troublesome, said Wang Xing. If the person behind the young man was that strong, he would definitely attract the attention of the self-defense Divine Palace. In that case, even if they managed to capture Yang Hongwu, all of their plans would fail. We have to speed up. Before that person finds him, we have to capture that young man and use the stealing the sky sun technique, said Wang Xing coldly. Wang Xing said coldly. This was their only chance and they could not miss it. Once they missed this opportunity, there would be no other possibility. Brat, you can't escape. Come out obediently, shouted Zizai. At this time, Yang Hongwu, who was in the hall outside, borrowed the power of the array formation and unleashed a terrifying attack. This attack contained the power of the world-exterminating divine light. This divine light instantly pierced through the space, creating a hole. The space between the three of them suffered from such an impact and was instantly injured. They all coughed up blood. The space has been torn apart, said Wang Xing. Damn it! Brother, we have to deal with the enemy first, said Ming Mie. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The enemy was too strong. He could actually tear apart the space that the three of them had spent a great deal of effort to create. You guys go and deal with the enemy. I'll take care of this little bastard, said Zizai. For Zizai, Yang Hongwu had already become his inner demon. If he didn't capture Yang Hongwu and torture him, his inner demon would continue, and he might even fall into the demon path. He knew this very well. After all, he was once a cultivator who had surpassed the godly emperor plane. He was a strong cultivator. No need to look for him, said Wang Xing with a wry smile. Brother, why? The two of them didn't understand. You guys go and block that guy's helpers. I'll definitely capture that brat, said Zizai. That brat has already left our space. Or rather, that brat didn't even appear in our space. If I'm not wrong, the one attacking outside is that brat, said Wang Xing with a wry smile and a sigh. At that moment, Wang Xing no longer had the will to fight. Impossible, shouted Zizai. That brat can't have left our space. Chapter 1745. Senior, as expected of a senior. You're a wise man. After Yang Hongwu broke through the space, he stepped into the space where the three of them were. Wang Xing's words naturally fell into his ears. Yang Hongwu admired Wang Xing. At his peak, Wang Xing had probably reached the limit of emperor. He was only a step away from breaking through. Unfortunately, he was born at the wrong time. He met the master of the self-defense Divine Palace. The master of the self-defense Divine Palace was too strong. He was far from being a match for Wang Xing. In front of the master of the self-defense Divine Palace, he was like an ant. He was trapped here and became a puppet for the geniuses of the self-defense Divine Palace. Yang Hongwu admired Wang Xing's ambition. However, Wang Xing lacked some luck. Perhaps this was the reason why the master of the self-defense Divine Palace didn't put him in his eyes. To the master of the self-defense Divine Hall, The number of geniuses he had seen were as numerous as the number of carps in a river. Geniuses that could catch his eye not only needed outstanding talent, but more importantly, they needed luck. Perhaps luck was the most important thing. Of course, this was only Yang Hongwu's guess. Wang Xing was strong and talented, but after reaching this level, he couldn't advance any further without the support of luck. Therefore, he couldn't obtain the recognition of the master of the self-defense divine palace. This was Wang Xing's sorrow. It was also the sorrow of geniuses like him. On the path of cultivation, one had to defy the heavens. There was no such thing as fairness. In the past, if one had sufficient strength, they would be able to defy the heavens. If he could break through the shackles, his future would be boundless. And Yang Hongwu was his final gamble. Unfortunately, he chose the wrong person in the end. Yang Hongwu wasn't someone he could control. You won. Looking at Yang Hongwu who appeared in front of them, Wang Xing smiled dejectedly. This smile was a little sad, but more than that, it was helpless. It was unknown whether he said this to Yang Hongwu or the master of the self-defense divine palace. Perhaps these words were for fate, for the great Tao. Words. Looking at Wang Xing's appearance, Yang Hongwu was filled with countless emotions. Wang Xing, such an expert, had fallen to such a state. Would he also have such an ending in the future? However, Yang Hongwu quickly discarded this thought. He adjusted his state of mind. What a joke, how could he fall to such a state? A true genius, a true powerhouse, nothing could stop him from advancing. Yang Hongwu believed that he would eventually be able to control his own destiny and become the supreme ruler. Big brother, we haven't lost yet. As long as we capture this kid, victory will still be ours, Zizai said loudly. That's right, big brother. We still have a chance. Capture this brat and seal the space. We still have a chance. The master of the self-defense divine hall might not pay attention to this at this time, Mia said at this time. The corners of Wang Xing's mouth curled into a bitter smile. This was nothing more than a last-ditch struggle. Their fates were already sealed. He was destined to become a stepping stone for the young man in front of him. When Wang Xing saw Yang Hongwu break through their space, he already knew the outcome. If he had seen through this earlier, perhaps there would have been a glimmer of hope. But now there was no hope at all. Not even the slightest glimmer of hope. The outcome was already determined. It was irreversible. But seeing his two brothers in such a state, he couldn't bear to hurt them. This was the last fight. Even if it was a dying struggle, he had to fight to his heart's content. He had to fight for the dignity of an expert. All right. Wang Xing looked at Yang Hongwu. Come, let's fight. If you defeat me, I hope you can break this cage. When Yang Hongwu heard these words, it was as if they had telepathy and understood what he meant. This guy knew that he had no chance of survival. His words were to remind him, and also to buy a favor from him to let his two brothers go. I will, said Yang Hongwu. You are a worthy opponent. You were just born at the wrong time to encounter me. After saying that, Yang Hongwu took out a large seal. It was the life seal, Yang Hongwu's most powerful treasure. Although the life seal was incomplete, it was extremely powerful. It was Yang Hongwu's most powerful offensive treasure. What a great seal! It contains the power of all living things. Seeing Yang Hongwu take out the life seal, Wang Xing sighed. Although Wang Xing's cultivation level had dropped and his cultivation level was no longer the same, his eyesight was still there. That seal was a supreme treasure. It might even be on the same level as the divine palace. However, that seal wasn't complete. If it was complete, it would definitely be able to destroy the divine palace. If it was complete, it would be comparable to the self-defense divine palace. He could sense an unparalleled power from the seal. The young man in front of him was able to wield such a powerful treasure. Although it was incomplete, it was enough to prove that this young man was loved by fate. Come. Let me see the might of all living beings, the might of all living beings. Wang Xing waved his hand and a divine palace appeared in the void. This divine palace was filled with ancient power and mysterious laws. Come out, life divine palace. The power of rebirth, the beginning of reincarnation. This was the strongest attack of Wang Xing. It was the power of the great Tao that he had comprehended. This was the incomplete reincarnation Tao. The power of reincarnation was the foundation of the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique that he had comprehended. Unfortunately, he had not comprehended it completely. Moreover, he had comprehended it too late. If he had been able to comprehend this power when he was at his peak, perhaps he would not have been a prisoner today. He would not have ended up like this, the puppet of the self-defense divine palace. The moment the power of reincarnation appeared, Yang Hongwu felt a great pressure. As for the attacks of Ming Mie and Zizai, Yang Hongwu did not care at all. He could completely ignore them. The power of their attacks seemed strong, but in reality it was all for show. Under the suppression of the life seal, such an attack was unable to shake Yang Hongwu in the slightest. The thing that posed the greatest threat to Yang Hongwu was the power of reincarnation. This was the power of the great Tao. Although it was only a trace, it was still very frightening and terrifying. After all, Yang Hongwu's cultivation was too weak. Although he had comprehended a trace of the great Tao, it was still too weak. Chapter 1746. Does he have a death wish? Unlike the two women's worries, Zizai and Mingmie were extremely happy. To them, it was good that Yang Hongwu was dead. In that case, although they would continue to be trapped here, they would still be alive. It would just be the same as before. Haha, this kid is dead for sure. Wang Xing smiled when he saw how happy his brothers were. However, his thoughts were different from Zizai and Mingmie's. He knew that his attack would not be able to defeat Yang Hongwu and cause him any harm. Instead, his attack would only help his opponent. There was a vast amount of power within that huge seal. Perhaps this rebirth shrine would be an opportunity for him. After all, the young man was a peerless genius. A genius like him would not make a move unless he was absolutely confident. If he dared to let go of his defense, it meant that he was confident. Sure enough, when the rebirth divine hall rushed into the life seal, he instantly lost control of the divine hall. The divine hall seemed to have been swallowed up. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath. As soon as the godly palace of rebirth entered the life grand seal, it was suppressed by Yang Hongwu. He used his supreme strength to turn the godly palace of rebirth into a place of reincarnation. The world inside the life seal was no longer a low-level world. Now, when Yang Hongwu saw the reincarnation force of the Temple of Life, he finally understood what his inner world was lacking. It was reincarnation, the 6 paths of reincarnation. The Temple of Life contained the supreme reincarnation force. Although it was only a trace, it was the most suitable for Yang Hongwu to build the 6 paths of reincarnation. Seeing this scene, Unfettered and Miezizai were dumbfounded. They had never thought that this would be the outcome. Their boss's shrine of rebirth had been swallowed and suppressed. It hadn't caused any harm to the enemy. They couldn't believe it. Their boss's shrine of rebirth was extremely powerful and terrifying. As his brothers, they knew better than anyone else how terrifying it was. When the power of this temple erupted, even an imperial emperor realm martial artist would have to retreat a little. However, this kid suppressed it as if it did not take much effort. Go, this kid can't suppress our boss's Temple of Life. We only need to attack now and he will die. Zizai shouted. Is that so? Yang Hongwu chuckled and made a grabbing motion with his hand. His dermic powers condensed and formed a huge net in the void. This huge net instantly enveloped all of them. The giant net contained an unparalleled power, sealing their cultivation. The two men's expressions changed drastically. However, Yang Hongwu did not do anything to their boss, Wang Xing. The two suspected that their boss had set them up. Boss, you. Ming Mie found it hard to believe. You betrayed us. Wang Xing laughed bitterly without end, and then he shook his head and said, No, I just said that we've already lost, and we don't have the strength to fight. He looked at Yang Hongwu and took a deep breath. Can you spare the lives of my 2 brothers? Traitor Wang Xing, you traitor! How dare you betray your own brothers? We trusted you so much and yet you treat us like this? Despicable, despicable! Zizai looked at Wang Xing. The hatred in his eyes was extremely strong. He wanted to skin Wang Xing alive. At this moment, Zizai looked at Wang Xing. His hatred for Wang Xing had surpassed his hatred for Yang Hongwu. See, they don't need your pleading. Yang Hongwu smiled. So, you don't have to waste your effort. What other wishes do you have? Maybe I can help you fulfill them. Wang Xing looked at his brothers who had gone through life and death with him. They did not believe in him at this moment. Wang Xing felt terrible. I only ask that you leave a chance for my 2 brothers. Also, I hope that you can succeed. Don't follow my old path. After saying that, Wang Xing closed his eyes, and his entire body slowly became illusory. Just like that, he was annihilated. Boss. Seeing this scene, the 2 of them realized that they had misunderstood their big brother. At this moment, Wang Xing had already exhausted his source energy. He did not have a chance to live anymore. This was also the reason why Yang Hongwu did not attack Wang Xing. After Wang Xing took out the Wang Xing shrine, he had already exhausted all of his source energy. Even his soul, the last sliver of life force, had been exhausted. At this moment, there was no longer a person called Wang Xing in the myriad world. No matter how powerful the experts were, even the master of the war-stopping divine palace, they would not allow Wang Xing to come back. It's you, little bastard. You killed our boss. Mingmia looked at Yang Hongwu. The hatred in his eyes had reached a terrifying level. If looks could kill, Yang Hongwu would have died countless times. Yes, so what? Do you want to avenge him? Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. However, I'm afraid that you won't have the chance. I will never show mercy to my enemies. Thus, since the 2 of you are so close to your boss, you should accompany him so that he won't be alone. There's no one to accompany him. After saying that, Yang Hongwu took out the devouring furnace. The enormous furnace exploded with devouring power and instantly enveloped the 2 of them. Spare me, spare me. I'll submit. I'm willing to submit. At this moment, Unfettered spoke loudly. He did not have the slightest bit of backbone. Compared to before, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. Yang Hongwu saw that this guy had changed so quickly. However, he was not surprised. Yang Hongwu had seen many people like this. In the face of a life and death crisis, how many people would be able to maintain their composure? Too few, too few. Unfettered, you. Mingmia did not expect Unfettered to be so spineless. I don't want to die. Unfettered said. It's important to know one's own limits. Master is powerful and talented. His future achievements will definitely be limitless. To be able to become Master's servant is a great honor for me. Thus, Mingmia, you should submit as well. In fact, Boss has already seen through everything. However, we realized it too late. Chapter 1747. Impossible. Hearing this, Zizai's heart trembled. He looked at Yang Hongwu and said, Master definitely won't kill me. Master, I'll be of great help to you. If you can leave this self-defense divine palace, I have countless treasures to give to you. Zizai was terrified. He didn't want to die, he really didn't want to die. No need. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, Mingmia is right. You won't be alive. You, accept your fate. Only accept your fate. Mingmia said, Young master, I only have one hope. If you are able to go to the Mingguang Great World one day, I hope that you can pass my inheritance to my daughter, Ming Xiyuan. My cultivation base and this item can be considered a reward. I promise you. Yang Hongwu looked at the treasure in Mingmia's hand and said, Thank you. After Ming Mie finished speaking, he dispersed his cultivation and condensed 2 spiritual pearls. One of the spiritual pearls contained Ming Mie's cultivation and the other was the inheritance spiritual pearl. The inheritance spiritual pearl could only be opened by Ming Mie's blood. Only Ming Mie's daughter, Ming Xiuan, could obtain it. As for the others, even if they obtained it, it would be useless. In fact, to Yang Hongwu, if he wanted to, he could seize this inheritance. However, he wasn't interested in it. At this moment, the cultivation spiritual bead was very helpful to him. If he swallowed this spiritual bead, his cultivation level would increase by a lot. Of course, he had to be careful. Of course, it wasn't enough to break through to the half-step Divine Emperor realm. Because of this, Yang Hongwu didn't swallow the power of the spiritual pearl directly. As for the inheritance spiritual pearl, Yang Hongwu kept it. "Master, my master, please spare my life." Seeing his boss and Ming Mie dead, Zizai was terrified. He really didn't want to die. He didn't want to disappear like Ming Mie. Die. Yang Hongwu didn't care about Zizi's pleas. He reached out his hand and a ball of fire shot out. It was the red lotus karmic fire. The karmic fire landed on Zizi's body and burned him instantly. Zizi let out a miserable scream. How terrifying was this ball of flame! Furthermore, they were in the devouring oven. There was no way for Zizai to resist it. Not long after, his entire body turned into nothingness. The negative karma on his body was extremely terrifying. Yang Hongwu was extremely shocked. This guy had committed countless sins of murder. He was not a good person. His sins were simply unforgivable. To let such a person live was to be cruel to others. In fact, even Wang Xing and Ming Mie were not good people. Their hands were also stained with the blood of countless innocents. To be able to grow to such a level, which one of them had truly never killed an innocent person or committed any sins. Big Brother Yang, I knew that Big Brother Yang would definitely be able to deal with the 3 of them, said Pang Li. Not bad. Pang Li Juan nodded. The 2 of them were extremely excited. The enemies were eliminated and they were not harmed at all. This was the best outcome. However, although Yang Hongwu had a gratified smile on his face, he was a little worried in his heart. The danger was still to come. The real enemy was still hiding in the dark. This kind of premonition appeared when one was on the brink of death. He originally couldn't feel it. However, Wang Xing gave him a hint. The real danger, the real test, seemed to have just begun. The test on this level didn't seem to be that simple. However, the difficulty of this test was already extremely high. If the opponent's strength was enough to make Wang Xing fearful, then how terrifying would this test be? We should go to that level of the spatial secret territory, said Yang Hongwu at this time. Yang Hongwu didn't know where the danger came from. However, he knew that the danger should be in that level of the spatial secret territory. There was a powerful force in that level of the spatial secret territory. This powerful force might be the source of the danger. However, Yang Hongwu had no way out now. Yes, I can't wait. It's time to reap the rewards. I wonder what treasures there will be. Pang Liren was extremely excited. She didn't feel any sense of danger at all. Congratulations, Lord. Congratulations. At this time, the dark spirit also opened his mouth. He had a flattering smile on his face. This master's strength was indeed too strong and unfathomable. He originally thought that Yang Hongwu would be lucky if he could keep his life in front of the 3 Ming Mie brothers. His strength was terrifying. Ming Mie and the other 2 did not even have the strength to fight back in his hands. They were killed directly. He was too powerful. What's your name? I still don't know? Yang Hongwu looked at the dark spirit and asked. My lord, my name is Jia Yubong, the Yin soul said. A cold light flashed in Yang Hongwu's eyes. Jia Yubong, what a good name. The cold light flashed and disappeared. Yang Hongwu didn't say anything else. He said directly, bring us to the entrance of the spatial secret territory. Lord, please follow me. Jia Yubong nodded and walked in front. He bowed and bowed. On the surface, he looked like a good servant. The two ladies were very excited. They didn't care about this at all. After a while, the group arrived at a secret cultivation room. This secret cultivation room had a powerful formation and seal that prevented the four of them from entering. My lord, this is Ming Mie's cultivation ground. However, I can't enter this place. It has been sealed. If you want to enter this place, you have to break the seal, Jia Yubong said. You can't break the seal? Yang Hongwu said in a deep voice. If that's the case, we can't enter? This lord, please forgive me. My cultivation is low and my ability is weak. I can't break the seal. Jia Yubong quickly apologized. Yang Hongwu frowned. This seal is not simple. If it was before, I might have been able to break it with brute force, but now I can't. I've consumed too much energy and it's difficult to break this seal. If I try to break it by force, I'll suffer a great backlash. Isn't that right? That's unacceptable. Brother Yang, what should we do? Pang Li asked. I just need time. Wait for me to recover. However, I need some time to fully recover. Yang Hongwu said. I'm afraid it will take 2 or 3 days. Chapter 1748. Since we can't enter, it's better to leave now rather than wasting our efforts to break the restrictive shield. Yang Hongwu said, Anyway, we've already gotten the benefits, there's nothing else. We shouldn't be too greedy. As the saying goes, those who are content will be happy. Don't you agree? Well, Brother Yang, you're right. Maybe there's some other danger in the secret land? It's fine if we don't go. I'm also curious about what we'll encounter in the second divine palace. Didn't you say that we'll encounter other geniuses in the second divine palace? When Pang Liren said this, her face was filled with excitement. Hearing their words, Jia Yubong's expression changed slightly. He was a little anxious. If Yang Hongwu didn't go to the secret land, wouldn't his plan be in vain? That wouldn't do. My lord, I remember now. Back then, Ming Mie had a token that allowed him to freely enter this cultivation room. As long as we can find that token, we can easily enter the secret realm, Jia Yubong said loudly. Where is the token? Yang Hongwu asked. It's in the hands of Ming Mie's henchman, Jia Yubong said. Then why don't you take us to find it? Pang Liren hurriedly said. After all, the secret realm was still very attractive to her. If she could enter the so-called secret realm and explore it, it would be good. After all, there might be supreme treasures in the secret realm. Every supreme treasure was incomparably precious and powerful. Currently, the two sisters did not have a supreme treasure. If they could obtain one, that would be the best outcome. He should be hiding, Jia Yubong said. Hiding? Then why don't we go and find him? Time is running out, Pang Liren said. I'll send someone to find him immediately, Jia Yubong said. We should be able to find him soon. Yang Hongwu took out a talisman. This talisman was a tracking talisman. With this talisman, it was easy to track a weak warrior in a small area. Of course, if one's strength had reached the Divine Emperor realm, it would be difficult to track the opponent. It was not an easy task. This talisman was not that powerful. If you take out something that has been tainted with that person's aura, we will be able to track him, Yang Hongwu said. Jia Yubong thought for a moment and took out something. It was a jade seal. He said to Yang Hongwu, Sir, I don't know if this is possible. This jade seal was given to me by him. Aside from my and Ming Mie's aura, it is also his aura. Sure. Yang Hongwu looked at Jia Yubong and took the jade seal. Jia Yubong was trying his best to get him into the secret ground. Yang Hongwu wanted to see what Jia Yubong was up to. Although Yang Hongwu did not know why Jia Yubong wanted him to enter the secret realm, he could guess that this fellow was definitely up to no good. Although Jia Yubong's cultivation was not strong and he could not withstand a single blow from Yang Hongwu knew that this fellow was just a wisp. Yang Hongwu did not know how strong his original body was. Perhaps this fella's original body was the one sealed in the secret realm. Could it be that he wanted Yang Hongwu to release his original body by letting Yang Hongwu enter the secret realm? Wasn't the possibility of this very high? This fella's soul contained a special power. That was a trace of origin. This trace of origin was stronger than the three brothers. Therefore, Yang Hongwu could see that this fella was stronger than the three brothers. This fella might have surpassed the existence of the emperor. Yang Hongwu did not know why he was sealed in the divine palace. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath and put his thoughts aside. He was thinking too much. So what if the other party was strong? Was he afraid? Moreover, that fellow was sealed. Yang Hongwu could still kill him even if he was strong. However, before entering the secret realm, Yang Hongwu had to make arrangements. Otherwise, it would be bad if he encountered a trap. He had to make sure that nothing would go wrong. Even if he could not kill the other party and obtain any benefits, he had to have a way out. For Yang Hongwu, this was a matter of principle. Unless there was a special situation where Yang Hongwu did not have time to make arrangements, he had to leave a way out. Now it had become a habit. Tracking talisman, go! Yang Hongwu struck a ray of spiritual power into the tracking talisman. At this time, the tracking talisman turned into a ray of spiritual light. This ray of spiritual light was like a small dragon, flying towards a direction at a moderate speed. Let's go, Yang Hongwu said to the two women and Jia Yubong. Yang Hongwu and the others chased after the ray of spiritual light. Soon, they arrived at a small courtyard. After entering the courtyard, the ray of spiritual light came to the front of a dry well. Then, it escaped into the dry well. Brother Yang, that ray of spiritual light entered the dry well. Could that person be down there? Pangli said. I didn't expect Ming Hang to be hiding in this place. Jia Yubong said. If it wasn't for Lord's talisman, I'm afraid I wouldn't have thought that Ming Hang was hiding here. No one had ever lived in this small courtyard before, and it was even more unimaginable that it would be located under the dry well. There was a lack of spiritual energy in the well, far less than the outside world. Moreover, there was a disgusting aura, especially for a spiritual body like Jia Yubong. Generally speaking, if Jia Yubong didn't know, he wouldn't go down at all. Lord, I'll go down and catch Ming Hang, Jia Yubong said. All right. Yang Hongwu nodded. If you can't catch him, send me a message directly. Yang Hongwu thought for a moment, then took out another item. It was a talisman. He handed it to Jia Yubong and said, This is a body-securing talisman. With this talisman, it can help you. Jia Yubong took the talisman and said to Yang Hongwu, Thank you, Lord. I won't let you down. I'll catch that bastard and get that token. Yang Hongwu nodded. That talisman was just to gain his trust. Jia Yubong's original body might be very powerful, but it was only a clone after all. Its strength was limited, and the things it could see were also limited. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was able to make a move. Thus, Yang Hongwu was able to plot against him. At this time, Yang Hongwu laid out his plan. Chapter 1749. Not long after Jia Yubong went down the well, he came out with a person in his hand. This person was tall and thin. His cultivation was not strong, only at the primordial unity true God realm. Such cultivation was not considered strong in this world, but it was considered not bad. My lord, I did not disappoint you. I have caught this kid. After Jia Yubong finished speaking, he took out something else. It was a token. After he threw the person on the ground, he respectfully handed the token to Yang Hongwu. Sir, this is the token. You only need to take it. With this token, you will be able to freely enter and exit the cultivation space of Mingmia. All right. Yang Hongwu nodded. I will remember your contribution. This is an elixir that can condense the spiritual body. It will be helpful to you. This elixir was specially refined by Yang Hongwu. It was an emperor-level elixir. This elixir would be of great help to divine emperors. Jia Yubong's incarnation was too weak after all. This elixir would definitely be of great help to him. Yang Hongwu did not believe that Jia Yubong would be able to resist the temptation and not consume it. Furthermore, it was impossible for Jia Yubong to reject him now. Jia Yubong wanted Yang Hongwu to enter the secret realm. Furthermore, Jia Yubong's original body was extremely powerful. Therefore, he would not be worried about Yang Hongwu's scheme. Therefore, this guy would definitely take the elixir. Even if he knew that Yang Hongwu had added something special to the elixir, he would not reject it. Moreover, he might not be able to see through it. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord. Jia Yubong's eyes lit up when he saw the elixir. This elixir would be of great help to him. It could increase his cultivation by a level and condense his spiritual body into a physical body. He had worked hard to come out and cultivated for so many years. It took him years to cultivate to this level. Now, with this pill, he could save thousands of years of bitter cultivation. How could he not be surprised? It would be strange if he would reject it. Take it, Yang Hongwu said. When you condense your physical body and improve your cultivation, we'll enter the secret realm. Milord, wouldn't this delay Milord's important matters? After all, Milord only has half a day before being teleported out. If Milord's important matters are delayed because of this lowly one, wouldn't this lowly one be unforgivable? Jia Yubong said. Yang Hongwu could tell that this guy really wanted to take this pill immediately and condense his physical body. However, when he thought that Yang Hongwu only had half a day's time, he was a little worried. If the time passed and he did not enter the secret realm, then wouldn't all his efforts be in vain? It doesn't matter. It won't take long. You don't need half a quarter of an hour to refine this pill. I'll help you. Yang Hongwu said. Thank you, my lord. Hearing this, Jia Yubong was relieved. He swallowed the pill in one gulp and began to cultivate. Before long, Jia Yubong's aura began to rise. His spiritual body continued to condense. After a while, Jia Yubong's spiritual body completely condensed. His cultivation also rose by several levels. At this moment, Jia Yubong was already a late divine lord. He was even about to catch up to Yang Hongwu. Seeing this scene, the two girls were envious. This kind of cultivation speed was too fast. Big brother Yang, I also want to increase my cultivation. I also want to take this pill. Pang Li said. Yang Hongwu was speechless. He looked at Pang Li and said, Girl, you should know that relying on pills to increase your cultivation is not good. It won't have any benefits for your future cultivation. Cultivation has to be done step by step. What you cultivate yourself is the best. But my cultivation speed is too slow. Pang Li said. All right. Once we leave this self-defense divine palace, I'll think of a way to help you increase your cultivation. Yang Hongwu said. Really? Pang Liren was overjoyed. Even Pang Li Juan was the same. Of course it's true. When has your big brother Yang ever lied? Yang Hongwu said. Yes. I believe big brother Yang. Pang Liren nodded happily. However, big brother Yang, you can't forget. Don't worry. I won't forget. Yang Hongwu said. After saying that, Yang Hongwu raised his right hand. A ray of light entered Jia Yubong's body. Jia Yubong's body shook and he woke up. After opening his eyes, Jia Yubong looked at Yang Hongwu and hastily knelt. Thank you, my lord. Thank you for your help. I will definitely go through water and tread on fire for you. There's no need for that. This is your opportunity and also your fortune. Yang Hongwu said. I hope that you will work hard for me in the future. There will be many benefits for you in the future. My lord, I will definitely work hard for you. Jia Yubong had a look of gratitude on his face. Yang Hongwu's lips curled into a smile. This guy's acting skills were pretty good. With his acting skills, he could probably become an award-winning actor. If he didn't know better, he might really have been tricked by him. Alright, there's not much time left. Let's quickly go to that cultivation room. I can't wait to enter that secret realm. I want to see if what you said is true. Yang Hongwu said. Don't worry. I definitely won't disappoint you. If there's a single lie in what I said, then let me be struck by lightning and die a horrible death, never to be reincarnated. When Jia Yubong heard Yang Hongwu mention this, he hastily swore. Yang Hongwu nodded. There's no need for that. I believe you. Bring us there. Jia Yubong hastily nodded and walked in front. As for Ming Hang, he was also lifted up. Ming Hang was imprisoned and couldn't even speak. Very quickly, Yang Hongwu and the others once again arrived at Ming Mie's cultivation room. Go, open the seal. Jia Yubong said to Ming Hang. Jia Yubong, you ungrateful thing. I treated you as my brother in vain. Yet, you treat me like this. You will die a horrible death. Do you know that? Ming Hang loudly scolded Jia Yubong as soon as the seal was released. Ming Hang hated Jia Yubong to the core. Ming Mie was his master and had given birth to him. He had saved him from the brink of death. Ming Hang's kindness was as heavy as a mountain. He had originally thought that he would hide and raise his cultivation so that he could avenge Ming Mie in the future. However, he didn't expect Jia Yubong to find him and even ask him to open the seal to enter his master's cultivation room. How could he not hate him? Chapter 1750. Humph, if you don't tell me, I'll make you wish you were dead. Jia Yubong was enraged. I have 100, no, 1,000 ways to make you tell me. Do you believe me? Dream on. At this moment, Ming Hang burst into laughter. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Jia Yubong and said, I've erased the memory of how to enter His Excellency's cultivation place. You'll never be able to enter His Excellency's cultivation place. Everything is impossible. Even if you use the soul-searching technique, you won't be able to obtain His Excellency's secret from me. So, whatever you want to do, it's impossible. Bastard, you deserve to die. Jia Yubong was infuriated. This token could indeed allow one to enter Ming Mie's place of cultivation. However, it required the incantation. Without the incantation to activate the token, one would not be able to enter. After all, a martial artist's place of cultivation was the most important place. If even feces could enter, how bad would it be? At this moment, even Jia Yubong was helpless. Although his strength had increased tremendously, the restriction here was set up by Ming Mie. As it concerned his life, it would not be easy to break it. Otherwise, Ming Mie would have 100 lives. Otherwise, he would not have survived until now. My Excellency, what should we do now? At this moment, Jia Yubong's mood was crumbling. He was about to let Yang Hongwu and the other two enter the secret realm. However, at this crucial step, he was stuck and there was no way to enter. How could Jia Yubong not feel aggrieved? Forget it, there's no need to let him say anything. With this token, a mere restriction will not be a problem for me. Yang Hongwu threw out the token. Suddenly, a ray of light burst out. Then, the restriction seal to enter the cultivation room was opened. A huge palace appeared in front of everyone. This was Ming Mie's cultivation place. This place was indeed luxurious. The spiritual energy here was more than 10 times stronger than the outside world. The surroundings were arranged according to a spirit-gathering array. Therefore, the spiritual energy here was richer than the outside world. Moreover, there was a small spiritual vein below. This small spiritual vein was also a special secret. It was related to the realm. Not simple, it's really not simple. Yang Hongwu looked at the situation in front of him and squinted his eyes. He had to admit that this secret territory was not simple. This Ming Mie was not simple too. Yang Hongwu could vaguely feel that the secret of this cultivation room, or rather, the secret territory, had been discovered by Ming Mie. Ming Mie were. How? This is... When Ming Hang saw this scene, he shouted loudly. He was very clear about the layout of his master's cultivation area. No one could enter it, unless they obtained permission from Lord Mingmia. Even if Lord Wang Xing and Lord Zizai joined hands, they would not be able to enter. Nothing is impossible. Jia Yubang was elated when he saw the door open. He was happy that all his efforts were not in vain. Yang Hongwu's strength was beyond his expectations. He was much stronger than he had imagined. Although he was excited, he was a little worried. This young man's talent was too shocking. He was too outstanding. What kind of powerful trump card did this guy have? Or, if this guy had a powerful existence backing him up, then things would be a little troublesome. What worried him the most was that when this young man was being schemed against, the Almighty behind him would use his powerful strength to break through the void and travel through it. That would be quite troublesome. Annoying. After all, in the great thousand universe, there were many such existences. Yang Hongwu was a young man with outstanding talent and amazing luck. At such a young age, to have such a cultivation base and ability, Jia Yubang would not be able to do it if he did not have a powerful person to nurture him. He believed it. Therefore, this was what Jia Yubang was worried about. However, there was no other way now. There was no way out. He could only hope that everything would go smoothly. Let's go. I'll show you the secrets in your master's cultivation room. Then you can die in peace. Yang Hongwu tapped out with his finger and released Ming Heng's seal. However, his cultivation base was still insufficient to release the seal. Ming Heng didn't say anything at this time. He knew that everything was in vain. Now he could only hope that there were powerful killing restrictions and mechanisms in his lord's cultivation place. Once these killing restrictions and mechanisms were activated, they could launch a terrifying attack and kill these people. If he died here, then even if he died, he wouldn't have let His Excellency down. This was Ming Heng's only thought at this moment. You won't have a good ending. Ming Heng walked at the back and said coldly, Master, I think we should let him walk in front. There should be seals and traps in Ming Mia's cultivation room. It's not a bad idea to let this guy lead the way. Jia Yubang was a little worried when he heard this and suggested to Yang Hongwu. No need. Yang Hongwu shook his head. It's just some seals. I don't care about them. The group continued to move forward. This was Jia Yubang's place of cultivation. There were many treasures on display. There were divine medicines, spiritual pills, heavenly treasures, and so on. There was everything that one could think of. It was a dazzling sight to behold. As Yang Hongwu walked past them, he collected them. Anything useful was taken away by Yang Hongwu. Most of them were directly refined and devoured by Yang Hongwu. Under the refining of the devouring furnace, nothing could withstand it. You, robber. You're a bandit. You'll die a horrible death. Ming Heng was furious when he saw Yang Hongwu's actions. Even Jia Yubang's eyes widened. This was even more of a bandit than a bandit. He took away everything he saw, leaving nothing behind. This was the rhythm of a barren land. Yang Hongwu did not pay attention to him. Ming Heng was cursing. Yang Hongwu sealed his mouth with a seal so that he could no longer speak. Chapter 1751. If it was his original body, he might realize it. If he knew this, he would not be so optimistic. After all, it was just an incarnation. It was just a part of his original body. In other words, it was just a little bit of memory. In addition, his strength was limited. There were many things that he could not see. Well, how do we get in? Yang Hongwu looked at Jia Yubang and asked. That's easy. Once we're here, we just have to open this seal. This seal is very simple. As he spoke, Jia Yubang raised his hand and touched a rune at the top of the cultivation room gently. A passage appeared in front of him. I discovered these mechanisms and restrictions by accident. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to find that secret realm, Jia Yubang said. That's right. Yang Hongwu did not say much. Sir, it's done. Okay, let's go in and take a look, Yang Hongwu said. Jia Yubong walked in front, while Yang Hongwu and the two girls followed behind. After entering the passage, a ray of light was released. This light enveloped the group of people. After the light flashed, Yang Hongwu found that they had appeared in a new unknown space. The level of spiritual energy in this space was very high. Ordinary people could not feel it at all. The spiritual energy here seems to be very thin, Pang Li said. No, it's not like that. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, on the contrary, the spiritual energy here actually seems thin. However, the level of spiritual energy here is not comparable to ordinary places. The spiritual qi here made Yang Hongwu very surprised. Although the spiritual qi here was not as good as the fortune qi, it was far from being comparable to the other spiritual qis that Yang Hongwu had seen before. Cultivating here for a day was almost equivalent to cultivating in other places for a month. This showed how high the level of spiritual energy here was. Of course, the higher the grade of spiritual qi, the higher the requirement for the cultivation method. If the cultivation method was not pure enough, then it was impossible to refine the spiritual qi. The only thing one could do was to absorb the spiritual qi and integrate it into the body bit by bit to strengthen the body. After all, the higher the grade of the spiritual energy, the higher the requirement of the cultivation technique to refine it. If the magic power cultivated was not as pure as the spirit qi, it would be more difficult to refine the spirit qi. But I don't feel it. The cultivation speed here isn't fast either, Pang Li said. That's because of the cultivation method. Or rather, your strength is still too weak, so you can't feel it. Yang Hongwu smiled and explained. Yang Hongwu, do you have a better cultivation method? Pang Li Juan asked. Her pair of big eyes blinked as she looked at Yang Hongwu, full of desire. This question stumped Yang Hongwu. There was a cultivation method, but it was not suitable for the two women. After all, his cultivation method was special. If he was a woman, there would be no problem. They could dual cultivate with him. That way, the cultivation speed could be said to be 1,000 miles a day. However, these two women were not his women. At least, they were not his women yet. Yang Hongwu, do you have a cultivation method that you won't let us cultivate? Pang Li asked. Well, my cultivation method is not suitable for you. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly. How about this? In the future, I will find a better cultivation method for you. However, for now, let's see what treasures are in this secret realm. Thus, Yang Hongwu looked at Jia Yubong and said, Jia Yubong, lead the way. Let's see where the opportunity you mentioned is. Sir, please follow me. However, this place is very dangerous. The location of the opportunity is also very dangerous. I almost died there back then, Jia Yubong said. At this moment, Jia Yubong was very happy and excited. His plan was about to succeed. What danger? I don't feel it. There doesn't seem to be any powerful exotic beasts here. How could there be danger? Pang Liren frowned slightly and said. In fact, she disliked this Jia Yubong very much. If it wasn't because this guy was a little useful to Yang Hongwu, she would have dealt with this guy long ago. Liren, what do you know? No danger is on the surface. The real threat is often hidden in the dark. If the threat is on the surface, it is not a big deal. Pang Li Juan heard her sister's words and couldn't help but scold. If you are like this, it will be very easy for you to be in the outside world. You will be easily schemed against. I know. Pang Liren heard Pang Li Juan's words and stuck out her tongue. She rolled her eyes and said, I was just saying. Li Juan is right. There is indeed danger here. Moreover, it is very dangerous. If you are not careful, you may die. Therefore, you must not leave within 3 feet of me. Yang Hongwu's face was slightly serious. That person's strength was somewhat beyond Yang Hongwu's expectations. Although that aura was well hidden, it couldn't escape Yang Hongwu's eyes. That person's cultivation was definitely at the emperor level even if it was suppressed. This was a frighteningly weak opponent. If he was careless and was ambushed by the other party, he would be in big trouble. Therefore, Yang Hongwu didn't dare to be careless at this time. Yang Hongwu was also very careful and vigilant against Jia Yubong. If he could scheme against Jia Yubong, why couldn't the other party scheme against him? After this round of scheming, it would depend on whose method was better. Of course, the so-called scheming was also based on one's own strength. If one's strength and cultivation were not enough, any scheming would be in vain. Therefore, cultivation strength was the foundation. If one's strength wasn't enough, everything would be empty talk. In the face of absolute power, any scheming would be fake. However, Yang Hongwu's current strength obviously hadn't reached that level. If his cultivation could reach the emperor level, perhaps he would be able to say this sentence. Jia Yubong, or rather, the hidden expert, didn't have that kind of cultivation now. If he had that kind of strength, he wouldn't be sealed here and unable to leave. Chapter 1752. Under Jia Yubong's lead, the group came to a mountain wall. Looking at the towering mountain wall, Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. Within this mountain wall, there was a domineering power. However, this domineering power seemed to be suppressed by something. If it were to erupt, it would be quite terrifying. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was quite curious about the person who had set up this restriction. Of course, this person was also the master of this world. This restriction seemed to have been specially set up to suppress one's own cultivation. This world seemed to be the same. This thought was exactly the same as what the three brothers of Wang Xing were thinking. However, it was clear that this person's cultivation and personal strength were stronger than the three brothers of Wang Xing. If he was at his peak, the three brothers of Wang Xing would probably not even be 1/10, or even 1/100th of this person. Yang Hongwu felt more and more that the master of Zhiga Divine Palace, who had trapped these guys here, was powerful and terrifying. Is this the opportunity you were talking about? Yang Hongwu looked at Jia Yubong and said, "This place gives me an extremely dangerous feeling. There seems to be some extraordinary existence sealed in this mountain wall." "Well, my lord, I'm weak. I don't know if there's a terrifying existence sealed in this cliff. However, the opportunity that I obtained is indeed inside this cliff. My lord, please take a look. There's a passage over there. It's just that you can't see it with your naked eyes. However, you can enter it. There is a 9-colored soul lotus inside. I obtained an immature lotus seed, which allowed my strength to rise to such a level," said Jia Yubong. 9-colored soul lotus? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. This was a rare item. A 9-colored soul lotus was a supreme treasure to anyone. This 9-colored soul lotus was a treasure on the same level as his red karmic fire lotus. If he could obtain it, it would be of great help. The soul lotus, as its name implied, was a soul treasure. If one could obtain such a soul treasure, it would be worth it no matter how big the risk was. The soul would always be a weakness for any cultivator, be it an emperor or an even more powerful cultivator. However, things would be different with a supreme treasure like the soul lotus. It could help a cultivator increase the power of the soul. Moreover, it was a soul defense. At the same time, it also had a terrifying attack power. If a person's soul power wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't be able to withstand the attack of the soul lotus. In other words, a cultivator with a soul lotus, even if he was only in the sage realm, and another cultivator without a soul lotus, even if he was in the primordial true God realm, the gap between them was huge. It was impossible for a sage realm warrior to be on par with a primordial true God realm warrior. However, if a sage realm warrior had a soul lotus, he would be able to contend against a primordial true God realm expert and even kill him. This was the terrifying part of the soul lotus. Therefore, in any world or plane, if a soul lotus appeared, it would definitely attract the attention of the all heavens experts. In order to obtain the soul lotus, these experts would go crazy. They would do everything they could to obtain it, even if they had to pay any price. This was because the truly powerful part of the soul lotus wasn't just that. If one had many soul lotuses, it could improve the origin of the cultivator's body and enhance the cultivator's physique. It could also enhance the cultivator's innate talent and even luck. This was the truly terrifying part of the soul lotus. However, although the soul lotus was so powerful, it was also very rare. It could be said that there were only 3 soul lotuses in the myriad world. As for the 9-colored soul lotus, it was unheard of. Yang Hongwu didn't know about these things. However, when Jia Yubang said these words, these memories appeared in Yang Hongwu's mind. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was very suspicious of Jia Yubang's words. It could even be said that he didn't believe it at all. The 9-colored soul lotus wasn't a freaking cabbage. If there really was a 9-colored soul lotus, why would it be his turn? It would have been taken away by the master of the divine hall. If he wanted to lie, he would have to find something. Couldn't he find a better reason? Jia Yubang, do you know what a 9-colored soul lotus is? What does a 9-colored soul lotus mean? Yang Hongwu looked at Jia Yubang, no longer concealing the killing intent in his eyes. Why did you let me in here? My lord, what do you mean? Why would I, Jia Yubang, deceive my lord? If there is a single lie in my words, let me die a horrible death. My soul will be tormented for eternity before it disintegrates into ashes and never reincarnate. Jia Yubang swore loudly when he heard Yang Hongwu's words. This guy actually swore a blood oath. A great Tao blood oath. This surprised Yang Hongwu. If it was fake, this guy definitely wouldn't swear it. Even if it was just an incarnation, it wouldn't dare to easily swear it. Because once it swore, if it couldn't fulfill the oath, it would affect the original body. This was because it was rather terrifying. It wasn't an ordinary oath that could be easily broken. This was a great Tao oath. Unless one's cultivation surpassed the great Tao and transcended the great Tao's shackles, it was impossible to break free from the restrictions of the oath. Yang Hongwu didn't believe that Jia Yubang, or rather, the expert sealed within the stone wall, had reached a level where he could ignore the great Tao. If he had reached that level, why would he still be sealed in this place and create such a world to hide? What about himself? Therefore, this conjecture wasn't true. His strength hadn't reached that level yet. However, what if it was really a 9-colored soul lotus? If that was the case, it was worth a try. No matter what, how could Yang Hongwu give up a treasure that was comparable to his red lotus of hellfire and his Dharma eye of annihilation so easily? After all, what he wanted now was to improve his strength as soon as possible. If he could obtain such a 9-colored soul lotus, it would be very good. The 9-colored soul lotus wasn't an ordinary treasure. If he could obtain it, his cultivation would improve a lot. However, breaking through the current realm and entering the half-step Divine Emperor realm was absolutely not a problem. As for whether he could reach the Divine Emperor realm or not, it depended on the situation. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.